you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6 Show. It's Monday evening. Another brilliant weekend of football ready to be reviewed here by my beautiful, talented, brilliant panel. Speaking of beauty, look at him down there in the bottom right. It's man like Patrick ready to go and represent the Spurs tonight. With him, equally as gorgeous, man like Savva is back on the terrace. Sonny is here to represent Liverpool and answer for his crimes. And bro,
he's equally as beautiful.
No, you're not that beautiful, but you've got to move that bed away from them curtains. Otherwise, you'll get damp in your room, my friend. Move that away just a little bit. Now we're on to the real beauty on the show. Colleen is here, ready to talk about Arsenal. And, of course, the wonderful, the sumptuous, the gorgeous Jessica Black is here as well. But the best-looking person on the panel is, of course, me. Look at it. Look at that face. Not bad for 47. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing all right. But how is everyone today? Everyone good? Everyone feeling all right?
I'm all right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm happy to be here amongst all these amazing people. Even though we've got a bit of Gooner scum on here, there's still good people other than the team they support. So.
But honestly, they win one game for the first time in how long, and he's got a bit of lip on him. Look at him. He's got all the club merchandise out, got a big grin on his face.
Listen,
won a game.
Win, lose or draw, I always rep my team. Do you know what I mean?
God.
No one can get
True. I heard a rumor that you've been walking around North London, Patrick, kissing Baldwin on the head. Imagine he was leaving after that win, bro. You're just like, oh, come on. Oh, Levy love him. Levy love him. Well, we will be moving on to Tottenham very soon. First talking point of the evening, though, as voted for by our beautiful, wonderful viewers, Manchester United. This is a subject I wasn't expecting to speak about today, but the pundits on Sky, the pundits on TalkSport, the pundits on ESPN, and journalists are all pushing this narrative today that Manchester United, after not beating Southampton, will fall outside the top four. What's your thoughts on that, Sav? Man United to fall out the top four. Do you think that's on the cards?
No, I can't see it. I don't think there's enough consistency from the teams behind, to be honest. Newcastle, I don't know. I mean, they draw a lot. Brighton, I think that they're just lacking. I don't know, just lacking. Spurs, I won't talk about my own team yet. I think you've got enough. Right? This is what happens. We spoke about this last week, Terry, but I think the defeat against Liverpool has kind of dramatised Man United more than it actually is, the situation. If it hadn't have been a 7-0, if it had been a 1-0 defeat, I don't think anyone's going in raptures like they are the last week. So I fully expect you to make it. I think you've got a game in hand. And I expect you to get that and another trophy.
Yeah, I mean, anyone else? I mean, for me, I was a little shocked to see it this morning. The kind of talk about, I know that Casmiro is going to be missing for 4 games, as put out here by this comment. He's going to miss 4 after his red card, which we will get into. But at the same time, the same pundits keep saying that he's not even that good. You know, he's kind of a steady Eddie. Is he really that good for Man United? Suddenly he's missing for 4 games, and that's it. The season's going to fall off. Like, what do you think, Patty? Like, you're only 2 points behind United. Yes, we have a game in hand, but it's more, you know, United are sort of 8 points or so ahead of 5th place. Can you see United sort of, you know, getting 9 less points than the Liverpools and the Newcastles in the last 11 games or so?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I said it a while ago that I'm looking to, you know, a lot of Tottenham fans were saying that 4th place. And I was like, why not 3rd? And obviously with you lot kind of stuttering at the moment and with a lot of games on the cards in terms of Europa and still the FA Cup, I don't see why Tottenham can't go for 3rd. But for you to fall out of the top 4, no, I can't see that. Like Savva was saying, you still got a game in hand. You've been in decent form, not the best, but you've been in decent form. 4 games out for Casmiro, who a lot of people would say is your most important player. That is a big loss. But Fred has looked good when he's come in recently. And McTominay, he is a steady Eddie. He is the definition of a steady Eddie, not a Casmiro. So I think you'll be all right. I do think the top 4 now will be the top 4. Obviously, I'm not sure what order it will be in, but I don't see, like Savva said, Newcastle are a bit too inconsistent. Their form isn't good as well. I looked at it. And Liverpool, you know, I mean, everyone was eulogizing about them last week, and then we see how inconsistent they are, losing to then bottom of the league, Bournemouth, and then obviously, yes, and as well, let's not forget, even though Liverpool had a great result against you guys, they're 5-2 down against Real Madrid, and that could be a cricket score come, midweek. So I'm not sure about Liverpool, if I'm being honest either.
Listen, I wouldn't write Liverpool off. United are definitely, look, if we go in our next 2 Premier League games, we don't win the vote, then we're dragged in completely into this race. I won't beat about the bush. But look, the game at the weekend, it's one of those hard ones. We were creating the chances. We were the better team. We were breaking them down. They were a bottom of the table side that were fighting for their lives from the first whistle. We had 2 or 3 one-on-one opportunities, some chances we should have scored, but just United were following a pattern and it was comfortable. And then Casemiro sent off. And that isn't the controversy where I think United were robbed, by the way. He deserved to be sent off. It was unlucky. His ball rolled over the ball and it hit the shin. But it is what it is. It's a red card. I can accept that. I can't call all the other shin-high challenges that weren't reds this year red cards and then defend this one. I'm not a hypocrite. It was the rest of the game that threw me. 3 stonewall penalties, in my opinion. 2 that I actually heard a journalist today say, well, the player tried not to handball it because he was moving. That's why his arm was moving out the way. And it's okay. But it hit his arm, though, right? Yes. So if he's trying to move his arm because he knows it's going to be handball, but it hits his arm, it's handball. The Rashford one is the craziest. I didn't even see it in real time. And everybody's saying, yeah, Terry, but it's taken slow motion to see there was contact. Therefore, it can't be a penalty. And I'm sitting there and thinking, but that's the whole point of VAR, is so you can slow things down and look at them from multiple angles, just like they did Liverpool's handball at the weekend. Liverpool's handball was a stonewall penalty. Stonewall. And I don't even think he meant to do it, but it was still a penalty because his arm stopped the ball going in the back of the net. But they checked it, multiple angles, sent the ref to the side. The Premier League has got to go back, in my opinion, to sending the refs to that monitor far more regularly. It's become a joke since Howard Webb's taken over, and not just against Man United. It's damaged all of our teams at some point this season. And in the last 2 months, the amount of decisions they've got wrong. Yesterday, Nick Pope staying on the pitch. And that's why I couldn't believe I was seeing Liverpool fans and Tottenham fans laughing at United, only for that decision an hour later to potentially impact both your teams in your race for the Champions League. Because if Pope is sent off and a penalty is given, maybe Newcastle don't win that game. And I think for me, yesterday, there was a lot of robberies going on in those 2 matches. We've seen Arsenal this season, not given 4 handballs in a game, lines not drawn on offsides. The level of refereeing is become a joke. So that's why I was a little bit embarrassed for the broadcasters today. To barely any focus on Man United's penalties. No real talk about them. No independent videos made and published. It was all United will collapse. United will fall away. United have got problems. Ignoring the fact that we just slapped up a team in 5th place that Real Madrid couldn't score against a few weeks ago in the Europa League a few nights ago. And if we had 11 men against Southampton, we 110% win. They did very well to get a point against us in that situation. But Man United fans ain't panicking. A few of the outrage. Yeah, man, in my opinion, if we carried on with 11 men on that pitch in that game, I believe we would have gone on to beat them. I know Liverpool lost, Sonny, with 11v11 against the team at the bottom, but we were dominating them. We were opening them up, and we still created some clear-cut chances, and great saves from their goalkeeper stopped us from taking the lead in that game. And for me, it was an unlucky game. Like, we weren't at our best. We weren't scintillating or anything like that, but I think we would have beaten them. But the referees, for me, and I very rarely blame referees, probably 3 or 4 games this season. This one I get for United. There was Chelsea-Tottenham at the beginning of the season. Arsenal-Brentford as an example, where you just look at it and think the level of mistake was so catastrophic, it has to be discussed. And, of course, Wolves versus Newcastle yesterday, 2 in 1 day, was crazy. But I'm not worried about falling outside the top 4. Maybe losing 3rd place. But listen, we come 3rd or 4th. It's pretty much the same damn thing in terms of qualification. And I'd rather come 4th and win 2 more trophies than come 3rd and no more trophies personally. But yeah, I thought it was a bit of a joke today to see Man United suddenly written off by all these pundits. It was a bit weird for me personally.
I mean, I have a different question around United, Tel, especially it kind of piggybacks off what you've said and what Patrick alluded to around, potentially eyeing up 3rd for Tottenham. So I don't know whether that's because you just think Tottenham can do it, or do you think because Casemiro is now going to be out for 4 games, that's your opportunity to pounce? And then off of that, I've been seeing online recently and a few quite popular, sports broadcasters and online personalities say they're starting to think Casmiro is a liability. Is that something that you would agree with, Tel?
Well, so what I would say to that is this. If he's a liability, then him being missing for 4 games ain't a bad thing. And that's my question to these broadcasters and why listen, I'd like to be on some of those shows just because they pay well. I'm not going to lie, right? I'm no ashamed in saying that. But they need Man United fans on these platforms that will clap back with proper questions. The Man United fans I see on these channels sit there and take it up the proverbial the whole time on these shows. That would be my argument, and I would ruin them. So 1 minute we're going to die because Casemiro's gone. 5 minutes later, he's a liability. It can't. Those two things cannot exist in the universe.
Oh, they can.
At the same time. How can he be a liability and cost us games, but also be pivotal to us winning games? Explain, Sonny.
We have to explain, because you never know what's going through Casemiro's mind. It's the fact that it's unexpected. Casemiro is obviously one of the best midfielders in the world. No one's saying he's not. But you never know when he's going to do something stupid like he done on the weekend. And at that point, in a big game, even in a game like that, when it's not so big, it can cost you, as it did. 2 points lost. He's now out for 4 games, which means he can't do that. However, you never know when it's going to happen. That's my point. He might be playing great, which is obviously helping you. So then when he does something stupid like that, it's gone.
So if someone's a liability, that means you wouldn't have him in your team regularly, right? You drop.
I never said he's just a liability. I said he's both.
So he's a liability. But why would you want a liability in your team? Why would you want someone at any moment that could cost you?
Because
points?
you have that much quality. It's as simple as that. When he is playing on the pitch, he is amazing. However, also when he's playing on the pitch, he will do something stupid like that over the weekend and then get banned.
You know what else? You know what I'll say about this though? Like, he's not a liability, but he has that odd moment of like rashness that a lot of DMs and really good defenders have. And I think like at one point, Thomas Partey was getting like red cards and, was silly and doing dumb stuff. And his decisions did make it hard for you to back him all the time, but he was better than anything else that we had. And when he was on it, he was amazing. And I think that's what people are saying. They're taking it too far. A liability, that is just way too far. But obviously you want somebody that's not, suspended for as much time as Casemiro is. And so you'd want him to nip that stuff because he's so important to your team that, you need him more often than not. The word liability is wrong, but I think the sentiment of like he makes those decisions sometimes and it costs you is right.
So I understand that. The hands around the neck thing was a travesty because, again, they looked at a very small snippet of that video. They saw the bit of him grabbing him. They didn't look at it before where another player grabbed the Man United player, and they didn't look at it for the next 20 seconds after where Casemiro and the player both have hold of each other, then stop, then hug and go, I know you were just trying to calm me down. It wasn't a fight. It should never have been a red card. This was an unlucky tackle. His foot rolled over the ball. Up until this point in his whole career, the man ain't never been sent off. This is the first 2 red cards in his entire career. Looking at what he did, I don't know before Real Madrid, but at Real Madrid, the man never got sent off. And up until this point, he's just been a little bit unlucky. And I agree, Jess, the word liability is taking it too far because a liability you never want in your team, and Casemiro we want. But when I look at our next 4 games, one will be at home against Fulham in the FA Cup. Tough game. The one I'm worried about is away at Newcastle after the international break without him, because Newcastle at Stamford Bridge is difficult. The next 2 games after that, home to Brentford, home to Everton. I think by then, Sabitzer should be back. You've got Fred and McTominay. We are good enough to beat those 2 teams at home. Why? Because we've beaten them before without Casemiro in our team at Old Trafford. So even when I look at the league, let's say we lose to Newcastle, but then win those next 2 games, I'm still confident of making the top 4. So from my standpoint, I think it's very hyperbolic from the media to suddenly start writing Man United off at this point, personally. But look,
isn't it sensationalism? I mean, it's everything's a famine or a feast, and it doesn't have to be both, right? It can just be, listen, he's made a mistake, he's got himself sent off. Was Vieira a liability for Arsenal? The bloke was sent off all the time, but was one of the best midfielders in the world. I don't think it needs to always have these kind of hyped up headlines associated every time a footballer does something right or wrong. For me, he is your best player. He's been absolutely superb this year. He is not a liability at all. But I do think you've got the games you just said you've got there. I think you've got the players to cover that. I don't see any issues for Man United. I don't.
The only ones that I'll say is like looking at the games is just like you said, Newcastle, Brentford can be tricky. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah,
that's a good team.
I'm not writing these games off. As in, like, we're definitely going to win.
I'm not saying you are.
I just need to interject because I'm not one of these United fans who's going to be like, yep, at home to those teams. Easy, 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 easy. Brentford's a hard game. My point is we beat them last season at home without Casemiro. So am I panicking about playing them at home this year without him? No. But we've still got to be at our best. We've got to be at our best to win our next 4 games. You have to be at your best to win any game in the Premier League. But again, it's as I agree with you 100%, Sav. There is just this overreaction to Man United losing. But by the way, if Rashford would have got that rightful penalty and would have scored it, the airways would not be full of Casemiro as a liability today, or United are going to lose the next 4 games. All you'd be hearing is United given dubious penalty again. Are they paying referees? But at least yesterday proves to the Liverpool fans that say we pay referees that we don't, because otherwise
that ended with Fergie, love. Of course, you don't pay them anymore. Obviously,
yeah, every time we win, we're paying refs, and then days like that happen, and people look really silly. But look, I was annoyed with yesterday. I'm annoyed today still. I'm annoyed at the referees more than I am. A lot of United fans, I saw the outrageaholics focusing again on the performance, and we weren't at our best. At the same time, it's like, were you watching the game up until that point? We were opening them up. We were playing well. I was quite relaxed watching the game. And then that red card happened and it was different. And we still had the best chances after that. We still had the better up. But they had one good shot. They actually had a better chance before they went down to 10 men. Theo Walcott on the break from a header. He should have scored. Good save from De Gea. They had one breakaway with Walcott, which Martinez handled easily, put him onto his left foot. His shot was weak. And then Kyle Walker-Peters had a great shot that hit the post. But outside of that, like, they didn't do anything. So, you know, maybe we should have beaten them with down to 10 men. But, you know, we move on from here and we keep moving. But I think the exaggeration that we're going to fall away is crazy. We've got some super chats here. The first one says, Terry, Casemiro usually gets 2 yellows at Madrid. Okay. I'm just going by the fact he's never had straight red before. But I hear you. McTominay, a steady Eddie. That's one way to describe someone who's just mediocre. Yeah, that's what a steady Eddie is. It's like Souness has tried to twist it. Oh, steady Eddie's a really good thing. It's a really good thing. No one's ever been called a steady Eddie and been happy. So yeah, it's definitely a bad thing, Doug. He is a steady Eddie. That edit of Gary Neville in your video thumbnail is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a while. What of Neville crying? Well, he just needs to start his punditry. His punditry needs to be a little bit better, and I wouldn't do it. By Sonny's logic, Mo Salah is a liability since nobody knows when he'll miss a game-winning penalty or not.
Nothing like that. No, why are you laughing? It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that because Casemiro's rough in every single game. Salah's good in almost every single game. That's like the first penalty he's missed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Savva said. Like, the Patrick Vieiras and the Roy Keanes weren't seen as liabilities because the quality of their football outside of their mad moments was too strong. So, yeah, that's a very good super chat, though, Sonny. He's got you there, isn't he? He's got you.
No, he has not got me.
He's got you there, bro. He's proper cooked you there. If Rashford stops scoring, I don't see United making top 4.
Nah,
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
I don't think he will stop scoring, but I think that is a fair point. If he comes out of form, it gets a bit more tricky.
Isn't that the same point for every single club that relies on one bloke to score all their goals?
Yeah.
So not Arsenal. We know that.
Hey.
Say that, yes. Say that again. Yeah. That's maybe for the rest of y'all, but it ain't for us. We ain't got those kind of problems here.
Come on,
I don't know about those kinds of problems.
Come on.
Can't relate.
But barring this weekend when no one scored, he didn't score against West Ham, but Garnacho and Fred stepped up. He didn't score at home against Barcelona, but Fred and Anthony stepped up. I think in the last 6 games where Rashford hasn't scored, only one of those games Man United have not scored or won the game.
We'll see what happens.
So again, I hear your point, Sonny, but your point has to be based on facts, and the facts are in 5 of the last 6 games where Rashford hasn't scored, United have won. Barring the Liverpool game, again, no one scored and we lost. Other players have scored and won the game for United. So again, like I say, I'm not panicking about him stop scoring. There are other people that can step up, but we definitely need to add some more goal scorers. Here's a question for you all. Where would you guys rate the competitiveness of the league this year? I think it's up there, bar Liverpool and Chelsea. Everyone has improved massively. Where would you rank it, Jess?
I mean, I think the league is as competitive as it's ever been. Like, I think this conversation has started to seep in a lot more the closer and closer it gets to the end and people see Arsenal at the top of the table. It's so transparent. It's ridiculous. Like, oh, well, Chelsea and Liverpool are not good this season, so blah, blah, blah. Well, neither were Arsenal and Man United the season prior. Points totals are the same. You know, the only thing is the bottom teams are, you know, even Kevin De Bruyne said it, like he said it today, that the league is tougher than ever because the lower teams can really take points off of you if you're not up for the game. So it's more than competitive. Like it's a difficult league. Anybody can get got. And we know that like you never really had teams like these Brentfords and Brightons, these guys, like they have real quality, and they could really
Fulham
hurt.
as well. Even though you guys smashed Fulham, they're actually a good team on their day. Like Fulham are a good team. So yeah.
But I think the competitiveness of the league conversation has started to come up because obviously people want to start to plant their seeds of if Arsenal win it, it wasn't even a competitive season. But we've already knocked that back several times. The points totals are the same. This is the same city. If you look at the points from the 27th match week and like it's the same level of points, same everything. So it's a very competitive league.
I think another way to look at it is if you look at the bottom, I mean, from relegation all the way to 12th, there's only 5 points in it. 5 points with all these games left to go. So pretty much half of the Premier League could get relegated if they're not careful. And that just shows how competitive it is. Usually right now, there's 1 or 2 teams that are dead and buried and already gone. This year, anyone can go down if they're not careful. When I say anyone, obviously the teams in the lower bit. So that just goes to show how scary it is.
Yeah, the Premier League's always competitive. That's one of the big reasons why it's the biggest league in the world, the most watched league in the world, because it delivers the most amount of shocks. In terms of overall quality, like I still don't think we are at a point where the overall quality is as good as sort of the period between kind of 05 and 2013 to 04 and 2013. The reason I say that is because when we start seasons and say that all 4 teams from the Premier League and the Champions League could win it, that's when you're back to those levels. Because in those seasons, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, United, every year, they were all seen as like within the favourite groups to win the Champions League as well. But that's the top end of it. I think overall quality from top to bottom, as Jess said, I think it's as good as it's ever been, Mike. But very good question that you posed to us there. We are going to talk Tottenham and Chelsea winning. But I think in the prelude to them winning, Liverpool, Sonny. Obviously very, very confident you all were going into the game. You were back. You scored so many goals recently. You were going to do X, Y. In fact, what we can do is actually play what you said. Hang on, we'll play it here. We're going to do Bournemouth, Liverpool. What you saying, Sonny? What's going to be the score?
I'm saying 5-0 Liverpool.
Look at the evidence. 7 in our last game. Last time we played Bournemouth 9-0. I think minimum it's got to be 3. And I think it's not too hard to put in a good performance at Bournemouth. What's their capacity? 8,000. They haven't got enough fans to even make an atmosphere. So I think we're right.
We're going to do Bournemouth.
Stop it. Get some help.
Obviously 5-0 prediction, and as a super chat here actually came in, it says at work, but we'll still be listening. One question: how was the Vitality Stadium atmosphere, Sonny? Big up to the panel, and hope Liverpool fans get cooked. That is from Kaz here. Sonny, what happened at the weekend? You were going to win 5-0. It was going to be easy. They don't have any fans. Talk to me, bro. Talk to me.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and make any excuses, but there's something wrong within the team. Like there is something that I can't put my finger on, because it should be mission impossible to go and beat Manchester United 7-0 and then go and lose to the worst team in the Premier League. I can't tell you what went wrong. The play style was awful. We started 10 minutes brilliant, and then as soon as we went to the 11th minute mark, fell off completely. Not even just the goal. Even before Bournemouth got their goal, we were absolutely dreadful. I don't know. I cannot tell you, but it's weird with Liverpool, and I can't put my finger on it because it makes no sense. Because if we were to go and beat Real Madrid on Wednesday, would I be surprised? No, I would not be surprised. Because I can see us beating teams who are better than us this season, but then I can also see us losing to any team. So we can beat any team, but we can also lose to any team. I don't know what the problem is. Klopp's selection is obviously going to play a factor. Carvalho needs to come into the midfield. We need a number 10 in this team. There is no creativity from the midfield. Harvey Elliott, starting in the game, I think he kind of sold us a Fugazi against Manchester United, because Harvey Elliott as a player is not good enough to play for Liverpool. And we've seen that against Bournemouth. You can turn up, but if there's no consistency, there's no consistency. And you can't play for Liverpool. And then Salah missing a penalty. I don't know.
He gave you a
never
lifeline.
misses penalties, man. I don't know what's going on with Liverpool, but I think we will still get the top 4. Only because the teams around us. Only
At the
because the
expense
teams
of
around us.
who? At the expense of who?
Yeah,
Tottenham.
Who?
Oh,
Who
come on, get
Tottenham?
serious. Get serious, bro. Come on.
I say get serious. Your team's only turning up now that you've got nothing to play for.
No. That's such a like, come on. Look at your. I mean, I saw all the
Sorry,
stuff.
what have Liverpool got to play for right now?
The Champions League. We're still in it.
5-2 at home. You got smashed 5, and then you're going to the Bernabeu and you're telling me you're still in it. And Real Madrid they're the Champions League. They are Mr. Champions League. There's no way that you're coming out of that time.
Terry, you said earlier, our opinions have to be based on facts. This is facts. Are we in the Champions League?
Yeah, just about.
That's it. That is it. We're in the Champions League.
I mean, he's got a fair point, though. He's got a fair point, Patrick. You've just won a game, but you've just been knocked out of 2 cups on the trot.
Correct,
Correct.
But our form is still better than Liverpool, and the games going into each other. Yeah, of course it is. What do you mean?
I don't know if it is.
It's not. It's not.
Let me land because it is. This is all facts. You guys can go and check it. Listen, Savva, let me land.
I've got it. I've got it already.
Let Patrick do it.
In our last 7 games in the Premier League, we've won 5 and lost 2. Yeah. In Liverpool's last 7 games in the Premier League, they've won 4, lost 2, and drawn 1. Our form is definitely better than theirs. And then if you look at the games that they got going into, Liverpool next have got Man City away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Leeds away, Forest at home. Those are some tough fixtures. So I don't understand where this confidence is that, we're going to finish above you. On what basis? And
I'm not going to lie. I think
this is the same team.
I think Liverpool had to beat Bournemouth to cement that 7-0, even though it was a shaky 7-0. Because remember, we had this conversation and we're all kind of talking about whether or not Liverpool could get top 4. And Sonny was like, of course. And I'm like, but you have to comprehensively beat Bournemouth. You need to beat Bournemouth.
Shaky 7-0.
You have to cement it so that because even they, the players even needed to know that it wasn't, just a mirage. And then they proved it was just a mirage. You guys go out to Real Madrid. I could see you guys just kind of floating through the rest of the season because you got nothing else to play for. You guys have been horrendous. And the thing about Tottenham is one thing that Tottenham knows how to do is string together just enough form to make top 4. They have at least that. If they have that in their sights, they're going to nick that. So I don't know, because you guys went from Champions League, winning the Premier League, all these cups and all this kind of stuff to nothing. Where Tottenham, this is their cup. Getting top 4 is their cup.
Don't say that, no bottle it.
You know what? I'm laughing, but Jess is right. The way Daniel
Jess
Levy
is not
sets
right.
the team up. No, she is right. In terms of how Daniel Levy sets up the team, in terms of the structure, in terms of how we have operated in the cups, top 4 is essentially what we're going for. I hate to say it, and I wish it was more than that. At the beginning of the season, I said for me, a good season would be top 4 in the trophy, and ideally I wanted to come 3rd because I thought it would be Liverpool and Man City battling, fighting for 1st and 2nd, Tottenham 3rd, Arsenal 4th. That was my top 4, and I wanted us to cement being better as in progression year on year with a trophy. But the way we set up in these cup competitions, the way Daniel Levy is up, it's literally top 4 is our trophy. So yeah, but when I look at the form of the teams and I look at what's going, I do think Tottenham have a lot more about them than Liverpool this season.
Can I reply really quickly? Right. So, Jess, first of all, in my 18 years of living on planet Earth, a shaky 7-0 is the craziest thing I've ever heard. There's no such thing as a shaky 7-0. You win 7-0, you've battered that team, no matter how you look at it. And then, Patrick, we're talking about whoever's going to get top 4, right? Liverpool have been in this position before, right? Liverpool, in terms of statistically, they can only get better. Liverpool 2-3 years ago, 2020 season, whenever that was, we were dreadful. We had players injured, and we still managed to get over the line because the mentality of this team. We still have those players in this team. We have players coming back from injury like Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz gets straight into this team. We go from here to here when we get our players back from injury. I don't know about Tottenham. I don't think Tottenham have a big injury list. Liverpool do, and we have players coming back. There's a big difference.
I don't think it issues players,
but I need to respond to that one little bit at the beginning. The reason why I say it's a shaky 7-0 is because anybody with 2 eyes that was watching that knows that depending on how you performed against Bournemouth, it would either solidify whether Man United were just bad or you guys were that good. And what it really showed is like Man United were really bad in that game. They were. I'm sorry. And you guys took advantage of that. But I mean,
you don't think
if you
Liverpool were
guys
very
were,
good
if
in
you
a
guys were
7-0
on, if
win?
you guys were good for that 7-0, you would have turned around, went to the Vitality Stadium, and put Bournemouth in a box, and you didn't do it. So, like, I know that the 7-0, it's nothing. It's nothing to be. I know you guys are celebrated for the rest of your lives, but Man United were poor, piss poor. Like, be for real. It's nothing you can really stand on unless you can get some form off of the back of it, and you didn't. So
You can still
it
have
was
a
a
good
shaky
game and then
7-0.
lose the next
Can
game.
I
I'm
can
sorry,
I interject
can't.
in here from the Tottenham Liverpool point of view, right? Is I think before everyone gets all riled up, I think it's really important, like Pat said, when you actually look at the fixtures coming up, right? And now I think anyone who knows me, and if you don't know, you will start. I nearly sound like Mr. Box Office there. You will start to understand that I am not biased. Patrick, you will know this, right? I am not a biased Spurs fan. The thing is, Sonny, when I look at your next set of fixtures and I look at Tottenham's next set of fixtures, we've got some nice games in our next 3 or 4. I'm not saying we're going to win them all, but we've got Southampton, Everton, Brighton and Bournemouth. We've got 3 of the bottom 5 in our next 4. You've got, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. I mean, if we win 2 or 3 of ours and you don't win 2 or 3 of yours, it's going to be a huge ask for you.
I would rather have our 3 games.
And let me just
come on.
Why?
Hang on, Sonny. Yeah, explain that first. Go on.
Why?
I would, based off this season, we know in big games we're going to turn up. We have no other choice but to turn up. In these little games like Bournemouth and stuff, we've been dropping points. We can't have these little games anymore because we need to rely on our players to turn up now. And I think Arsenal, Manchester City, and who's the other one? I can't remember.
Chelsea
are the perfect games to get back into form because we have no other choice but to turn up. You don't turn up in these games, you get battered. Liverpool have no other choice. We need
this
season, Sonny. You've been beaten by Man United, beaten by Arsenal, beaten drew with Everton, obviously, which is a big game when you were away from home.
With Chelsea. No, wait, drew
with Chelsea most recently as an example. Yes, you beat Tottenham. You beat Tottenham, which was good, and you beat City. So you won some of them. So you played 5 against the big top 6.
I'm basing it off
lost 3 of them.
I'm basing it off performances because we have better performances against the bigger teams than the smaller teams this season. That is factual.
Yeah, but you don't want 3 in a row. No one wants Man City, Chelsea, and Arsenal 3 games.
We've just beat Man United 7-0, then gone and lost to Bournemouth.
Sonny, your performances though have been good at home. Of your next handful of games, you're away to City and away to Chelsea, and then you're at home to the best team in the league, Arsenal. So again, based on your logic, your away performances this season against the big sides, barring when you played Tottenham, haven't been good. Even against Everton that you always beat, you were awful against them away. So I think having 3 on the bounce is key. And the reason why it's key, by the way, if you win all 3, I'll make you an outright favorite.
100%.
And the reason I say that is because it's when you get into the last 10, 11 games of the season, it isn't about the odds of winning games. It's about probability. And probability isn't about singular games. It's about the odds of you winning these 3 games on the bounce, which you'll probably find you're the underdogs in 2 and probably evens against Arsenal. The odds of you winning all 3 on the bounce, you have to multiply all those sums by each other. So say you're 5-1 and then you're 6-1 to win, and then it's like evens. You have to multiply those odds together, which makes it will make it hundreds of percentages to 1 to do it. At the same time, you then have got to add up the percentages of Spurs not winning in that period, and Man United not winning in that period, and Newcastle not winning in that period. You add all those odds up together. And Brighton. You add all those odds up together, you're probably looking at about 5,000 to 6,000 to 1 for you to come through these next 3 games and be ahead of those sides. The likelihood is you're going to be 4 to 5 or 6 points away. And then you go into the last 8 games and you're going to need 3 teams above you to all collapse. It's not about the maths. It's about the likelihood of that happening. So listen, Liverpool have got a massive chance, but losing to Bournemouth is catastrophic because of your fixture list. That you can't get away from it. Do you know what I mean? You can't get away from that, bro.
I think it could be a blessing in disguise at the same time. When you consider we go from Bournemouth to our next game being Manchester City away, they are such diverse games. The same as Manchester United to Bournemouth, such diverse games. If we go from high to low, surely we can go from low to high.
Listen,
That's my
Sonny,
point. Like,
I'm backing you all the way. I'm backing you to get 3 points against City completely. I see the
3
vision.
points against
100
Arsenal as well.
No. We're just talking about City. We're just talking about City. I see it. I can see it for sure. 100.
No, I never said 3 points against City.
Do you believe
though.
you can beat Man City at the Etihad?
No, I don't. I don't think we will beat
I
City. I
believe
think
for
City,
them.
out of those 3 games, is the only game we don't actually win. And I'll still stand by that. I still think we beat Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah, I hope you beat Arsenal. I hope you do.
You're beating Chelsea away and Arsenal at home. Then you've got Leeds away as well after that.
Look, we'll see what happens by then. Okay, I have no idea. I'm not speaking for whenever that is, even if it's in May. Like I can't think. I don't know what players we're gonna have on the pitch by that time. But the games come out now. I'm happily going to speak about. And those 3 games, I think we get 6 points or 7 points. I think we draw against City.
Do you know what? If you finish above us, right? Listen, I always say this. I'm old and ugly enough. I'll take that on the chin. You deserve it.
Would you be surprised if we finished above you?
Yeah, definitely.
I would from the fact that
100%.
from the fact that I saw you get your, you got an absolute footballing lesson from Madrid. From the fact that I saw you not being able to score against Bournemouth, but I wouldn't because I support Spurs and I know how Spursy we are. But I think that it's not just us you're looking at. You're looking at a Newcastle team that have got 2 games in hand on you, or 1 game in hand on you. You've got Brighton who have got 2 games in hand. And I think, like everyone just said, if you come out of the next 3 games with 7 points, hats off to you. Absolutely hats off to you.
I couldn't agree more with Sav. If you come through that, Sonny, with 7 points or more, then you almost deserve to be given the top 4 without finishing the season, because how bad you've been this season or how inconsistent you've been would probably be a better way of describing it. It'll be an interesting one. But I am looking at this based on probability. These next 3 games versus Newcastle, Brighton, and Tottenham's, you need all of them to do bad. And for you to come through this with flying colours, I just don't see the stars all aligning in that way. And look, it can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I don't see all those stars aligning at exactly the right time for you. It's it's a little bit like with Arsenal this season. If Arsenal had 2 teams like City chasing them down, maybe I wouldn't have been as confident. But they've only got 1. It's different because the probability isn't as high. But listen, it's an interesting one here. What you've got to say. I'm going to go to some of these super chats here. Deborah, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. A $200 donation to the Football Terrace tonight. Thank you very, very much indeed. That means a great deal to us. She says, I've been married to 2 Englishmen. I'm hoping that was at the same different times, but okay, 2 Englishmen. And when I told them I was giving up on Liverpool and rooting for Man United, they both said they'd never speak to me. Well, that could be a good thing if you're not married to them anymore, my little Deborah. And then he goes on to say they weren't even Liverpool fans, but devoted to Spurs. That's why people are so against United. All my English friends hate them. Debs, we are the biggest team in England. We are the most hated team in England, but we do love.
Cut his mic.
Why would a Spurs fan hate? I don't know why. I don't know what Spurs fans these are. I don't know any Spurs fans that hate United. I really don't.
Yeah, Spurs fans, I feel like they almost have a little Man United.
Yeah, United is easy to hate.
Yeah, no, I don't hate United.
I used to get on with a lot of Spurs fans when I was younger, especially when we were stopping Arsenal winning titles. Spurs fans used to love United, but I think it's just changed. I think some Liverpool Spurs fans they went through a few years where they were finishing ahead of us, and it was like, we can stick it to United. I think that's younger fans anyway. We can stick it to United now. But Deborah, thank you so much for that super chat. It means a great, great deal to us. That's absolutely amazing. We'll put it back up again later because that deserves your name up in lights. Thank you so much. Sonny, who's the plug? Some grade A you're smoking there is what. What you been taking today, Sonny? What you been taking, bro? Akil here says, I'm sorry, but referring to games like Bournemouth as little games, it was a huge game to get back into form. Keep having this attitude and it will help you in the Conference League next season. You don't beat Arsenal. One thing about the game of Liverpool, just talk about the football for a moment, as opposed to league positions and where people are finishing. I don't even want to sound salty when I say this, Colleen, but Liverpool, again, did look terrible footballing-wise, didn't they?
Sorry, I actually zoned out to what you said. You started talking about Bournemouth. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was asking you a question about how poor Liverpool looked in that Bournemouth game.
Oh, do you know what? I think that's why that's the point I wanted to come back to, is when you were talking about injuries and getting players back. I don't even think of course, you have different game changers like Diaz and whatnot, but I don't think that was your problem against Bournemouth. It was very one-dimensional. There was no plan B or C. If we take a look back to the weekend before, and I know Arsenal beat them. It's the perfect example of coming back from behind. In that second half, you saw how diverse Arsenal were and constantly being able to be camped in their half, recycling the ball, and somehow being able to score 3 goals in 45 minutes. And that's what I found disappointing with Liverpool, because I don't think it even matters if you've got Diaz back or whoever. That team on the pitch should have been able to beat Bournemouth and come back from that. So it goes back to whether it's a thing with Klopp in terms of, okay, is he devoid of ideas? Are the players devoid of ideas when it comes to being able to come back? Because we've always spoke about Liverpool in this modern time, since Klopp's come in, as mentality monsters. And you've been able to, grab fourth under him when, you've had players out. You've been able to, keep up with the likes of Man City, win a Champions League, win a Premier League. So I agree with you in terms of something's not right there, but I think it's even bigger than that. I think it's absolutely bigger than the players on the pitch. There's so much going on there. And that's why I also don't back Liverpool to get fourth this year, because I was just so disappointed. I don't know why you couldn't have been camped in their half and get creative.
They were good at like the first 10, 15 minutes.
Amazing.
They were kind of all over Bournemouth and creating a bunch of chances and stuff like that. And then once they didn't score, then it was that was it. And then they kind of just let Bournemouth take over. And I think once Bournemouth played those balls in behind that high line a couple of times, Liverpool got shell-shocked a little bit from that. And then they were just kind of scrambled from the rest of the time. And taking Nunez off, I think Liverpool fans need to question Klopp just a little bit more, because when he took him off, he's one of your most dangerous players. It didn't make any sense. There's just a lot going on there.
No, that made sense. I'm sorry, Nunez was not in that game. And what the other issue
No,
was...
Sonny. Nunez was in that game. He was your only danger when going forward.
Oh.
But what's really funny here, a lot of Liverpool fans end up with egg on their face because they never like to criticize Klopp. A lot of them don't. And they've been telling me for months that Trent doesn't get subbed off early because all of Klopp's substitutions are pre-planned. So before the game kicks off, whatever's happening in the game, he doesn't change his mind on substitutions. They're all pre-planned, which we all know is nonsense, right? It's all no manager does that. You might pre-plan, listen, we'll bring you on at the 60th minute mark to give you 30 minutes on your legs. But if the game's in a different situation, they change their minds. He's been pulling Trent off because Trent's been awful. But then at the same time, he's pre-planned these substitutions and he's taking off the wrong types of people, which is making Liverpool weaker. And yet they're not blaming Klopp for the bad substitutions. It's well, what is it then? Is it players playing badly and being pulled off and they need to come off? Or is your manager making terrible decisions? These two things can't exist at the same time in any reality. And for me, it's Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp is one of the biggest reasons you're struggling this year, persisting with that high line that has been exploited in nearly every single game you've played. Even when you won games, you beat Newcastle recently, you beat Man United convincingly on the scoreline, but both those teams got in behind your high line on multiple occasions, and if they'd finished their chances, you'd be in trouble. Now, people will say, if muts and maybes don't matter, but they do, because you keep conceding opportunities that way, and if it happens every game, you lose football matches. That's on Jurgen Klopp. The terrible substitutions, that's on Jurgen Klopp. The buying of 2 new attackers and not investing in your midfield is on Jurgen Klopp. And I just think that people like yourself, Sonny, need to be far more critical of your manager. You haven't got to say sack him. You haven't got to say sack him. You've just got to be more critical of him, because it's like the FSG are getting blamed for everything, barring the on-field decision-making, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy, because Man United fans blame the Glazers for managerial issues because we believe they hired the wrong manager. You guys don't think Klopp's the wrong man. So, and he's got full control over the transfers, and you've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on players. You've got to blame Klopp.
Yeah, of course. I was literally about to blame Klopp now. Our starting midfield in that game, I originally thought was a good idea when I seen the lineup. However, Klopp knows more than me. The midfield was of Badge Ketic and Harvey Elliott have a combined age of 18. 18. They're the same age as me, and they were starting in that game.
Combined age of 18. Yeah. Average age.
Wait, no, average age. Yeah.
Average age. I was going to say, Jesus Christ, you've got 2 9-year-olds playing.
What are they doing up in Liverpool? Might
as well have been, but yeah, not 2 9-year-olds, no. Yeah. 2 18 or 18, 19.
No, I hear you. We're not, Terry, we are not run like United. Get out of here. Well, I know you're not. That's the point, though. So if you're not run badly like us, who's to blame for the failures? Like, we have someone to blame. Ray here says Liverpool was overhyped after one game and forgot that they were terrible in February and not in form. With that back line, Liverpool will struggle, is what Ray's got to say. And that's the point. Like, the fact that I think Ray's spot on when he says that. He's spot on. This here says Redbird, Redbird, go get you a 12-pack of cherry Coke Zero, bro. That humbling on Wednesday. Plus Jesse's right. That 7-0 was a Fugazi. Hot and cold FC. Don't slip up. Don't slip on the 7-up is what Joshua Jack.
I almost had a stroke trying to read.
Yeah, it's just no punctuation. It's hard for me as a dyslexic. It's more my reading than is the writing, most likely, because I'm a bit of a spanner like that. But there we go. Big up the panel. United robbed. VAR equals very awful referee. Arsenal will win the league. Is what
Come on, Mick. Come on,
says.
I was with you until the end, Mick.
This here says, remember we play after Madrid until April 1. Everyone is back from injury, and maybe, just maybe, we get up for the final games of the season. Listen, honestly, you could do it. I will say this. All year I've heard we've got this player out or that player out, and when this individual comes back, we'll be better. Go back and rewatch and just look at the starting lineups of games in the beginning of the season where your high line was being exposed. All these men were fit.
Like Luis Diaz played against Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Luis Diaz was here for the beginning of the season when you were losing. Konate was here for the games where your defense was getting exposed. Like, you could turn it round. That's why I'm not writing you off. But I think just saying we'll have a few injured players back and one game a week and we'll do it. I'm not too sure, honestly, because you were out of all the cup competitions early and we're playing one Premier League game a week and we're losing still. Ray here says, as a Chelsea fan, I am more confident of playing Liverpool now, not because our last game, but because Mr. We will beat Bournemouth 5-0, says he'll beat us, is what Blaze has got to say. And on Chelsea, I mean, Chelsea won again this weekend. They're picking up a little bit of form now. What are you saying, Sav? Chelsea starting to look a little more dangerous with this £600 million squad?
Feast or famine, feast or famine. No one wants to give anyone time. And I think that I said it last week. Chelsea it's great. Everyone wants to laugh. Everyone wants to knock them. And we can talk about the 600 million number, but it doesn't matter whether those players were 600 million or 6 million. They're still human beings. 14 new players going into a squad, new manager, new owners, new technical director of football. People think it's Football Manager. People think you can just put the pieces together and in 2-3 games, go, fly. And I think what you're starting to see now is I think he's starting to learn what his team is, what his formation is. And they've looked much better in the last 3 games. I thought they were excellent against Dortmund. I really did think they were good against Dortmund. They got a few goals against Leicester. The game before that, they won. Look, I think Chelsea this year, very much a transition year. Next year, I'm worried because they've got the firepower. Sorry, they've got the money. They've got players like Nkunku to come in. They've got injured players to come back still. And they've got a very young squad that will build and grow together. And that is, once all the dust settles, Terry, right? Everyone just looks at the figures that are spent on the players. When you actually let the dust settle, everyone they bought is young. They're all like 20 to 24. And they've kind of done a rebuild in like 6 to 8 months. So I'm worried. I'm always worried. As a Spurs fan, I'm worried about everyone who's better than us. But I'm worried that they will be back next year. But Potter needs time. Potter needs time. They had to go through some. They had to go through some tough moments.
Don't think Potter's the man. Don't think Potter's the man. Not gonna lie.
Even if it's not him, but the thing is, even if it's not him, whoever comes in, they're gonna need time because it's the whole club's new.
That's why Chelsea are not back.
Huh?
That's why Chelsea aren't back, because something like that is probably likely to happen, and then they're going to need another rebuild. Just give us another year now. We'll get a few more players.
Well, no, but it wouldn't be another rebuild, would it? It would be a new manager coming in and implement his ideas,
and it would take more time.
Yeah, for sure. But if you bring in 14 players in 2 windows, plus you've got a new owner, a new manager, and a new technical director of football, I don't know what football fans are expecting to happen over the course of a couple of months.
You know what I think though? I think it's like it's a little bit of like, you know, Potter needs time, but also like he needed to have the fire lit under his, you know, to pick a formation, pick some players that you like and try to stick with them, win a game, because let's not act like he wasn't like in the hot seat. Like he was like a couple of games away from potentially being sacked. Like he really was. And then he turned it around like that. I would say from a perspective of are they turning a corner, I would maybe wait a couple more games to see, because you just never really know. But at the same time, it's like you're never as bad as or as good as you think you are. And like they just need a little bit of time to settle the ship. But for me, they haven't done anything yet to make me be like, but then at the same time, I think my team is doing well. So I'm like, you know what I mean? I get why Spurs fans are like scared. I get that.
Well, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all, to be fair.
Y'all were sitting down there shivering and shaking. Okay.
No,
Ooh, they look
I'm not
Spurs
scared.
fans, this is why everyone hates us Spurs fans. if we're looking at that Chelsea squad and we're looking at the money that owner has got, right? For a short moment in time, football fans do this. We're above them for this very short moment in time. And Spurs fans, Liverpool are in the mud and Chelsea are in the mud. Both those teams will come back and win things before we do, right? Chelsea have a very good squad of players that need to settle. But football fans are the least patient people in the world. We want everything now, right? Potter could well get sacked. That scares me more than Potter staying. Because if Potter gets sacked and they then go and get a top manager that can work with top players, that scares me more. But Chelsea are going to be back. We've done this to them before. They finished 10th, we finished 2nd. What happened the next year? They won the league. Right? This isn't new for Chelsea. This isn't new for Liverpool. These teams do this. They're up there for years. They have a year of transition. Everyone writes them off. They come back. Cream rises to the top. And that's why, as a Spurs fan, I know my place in the pecking order. And you'll never hear me running my mouth off against clubs that are better than us, because we look really
Where's that place in the pecking order, just out of curiosity?
Yeah,
where are we?
Yeah, where's that place in the pecking order?
Spurs are a 4th to 6th place team. That's what we are. We shuffle from the Europa League to the Champions League, from the Europa League to the Champions League. We don't win anything. We never look like winning anything. But I look at Arsenal, right? Listen, I'm not going to get carried away. I think you guys you've got to do what you've got to do this year. You've got to get over the line. Fair play to you if you do. I look at Chelsea. I look at Man U. Everyone belittled these teams. Every Spurs fan was belittling them when Poch was here and we were finishing above them. And yet all of them since then have all come back and won Champions Leagues, cups. And what have Spurs done? The complete opposite.
I just wanted to hear that from you, so thank you.
Savva, speak for yourself, because I don't agree.
One of the good things,
Patrick, you can not agree with me.
Patty, what do you not agree
about facts?
Patty, what do you not agree with? So
He's
one
saying
second,
that-
Patrick.
he's saying
So
that
you don't agree
Spurs-
that all those other clubs have come back and won trophies and Spurs haven't?
No, Spurs fans should be scared of this and that. No, like at the end of the day, call it for what you see it. If Chelsea aren't good right now, why can't people get onto them and talk their talk? Because at the end of the day, I don't.
You've been before doing this.
We are. We're living it up. While they're bad,
Yeah, exactly.
I have dined out on it for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you don't live in a bubble. Don't be scared. If Chelsea are shit this year, they're shit. It's simple. Like, you can give it to them. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to be, I'm scared of this. Why? Why are you scared of
but
it?
hang on. First of all, you're taking the word scared out of context. Second of all, right, I can see past the end of my nose. Football fans can't seem to see past anything. It's now or never, feast or famine, right?
Not really. Not really.
Of course it is.
Like you can like, for example, like Chelsea. Just you're saying that if Chelsea get a new manager, it could happen, but it might not. It takes time for all these players to gel. It's not guaranteed. There's still a lot of good teams that are still up there right now and are better than Chelsea and could continue to be better than Chelsea. There's no rhyme or reason that it's all. Because you're saying that Tottenham should be scared of them. Why? Why should they be? Because there's also other teams. If you live like that, you're gonna be scared of everyone. Like, that's not really how I see it anyway.
Not everybody though.
Have you not seen the history of the last 20 years? In the last 20 years, Chelsea are the most decorated football club in England. That's a fact.
Correct.
People want to talk about. Hang on. People want to talk about Man United and talk about Man City. Cool. Chelsea are the most decorated team in England, right? Chelsea are going through a transition, And it's fine. Let's beat them. Let's knock them while they're down. As a Spurs fan, I am so bored of knocking these teams when they're down, only for them to come back and win stuff, and Spurs fans not learning their lesson. We do not learn our lesson as Spurs fans. We are arrogant. We talk about these teams as though they're... Sorry, if there's any Spurs fans in the comments, you're going to hate me. Fine, hate me, right? We are a club that don't win things. We are a club, that laugh at Chelsea where they are now, right? We're laughing at them where they are now for what? So we can finish 4th, right? And what? And what? We're saying they're not very good. What are we? We're not very good. We're just a few points better than a team in transition. We're not in transition.
Just a few points better. I really think that you're overdoing it. And also as well, I don't really get what you're saying. So what are you meant to do, Savva? You're not meant to enjoy the moment. You're not meant to
enjoy. But what am I enjoying about being above them? What am I enjoying?
Because they're your rivals. That's what you enjoy. You enjoy the moment.
A big game against AC Milan.
You're doing better than your rivals. No, put things into context. Sonny, I don't know what you're talking about the AC Milan thing. I'm talking about actual league positioning. I'm talking about actually being better than your rivals. I'm talking about actually enjoying this moment. At the end of the day, you're talking about if buts and maybes. And the fact is, you're saying that Chelsea have been decorated. This is a completely new ownership. You don't know how it's going to pan out. You don't know that. This isn't Roman Abramovich. This is a completely different thing.
Listen,
I'm not sure what the jokes are. Like, what I'm saying.
It's funny.
Tottenham rubbish.
But
so what are you then, Sonny?
Go away. Go for it.
I don't really get.
I live by facts. I live by facts, right? I live by facts. I've lived through so many years of this. I remember when Poch was here and we were finishing 2nd and we were finishing 3rd. We were above Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Man United, all at one, not all at the same time, but at different times. We finished above all these teams. And everyone was like, oh my God, they're in the mud. I hate that saying, by the way. They're in the mud. He's in the mud. She's in the mud. Mud, mud, mud. All these teams come back. The cream rises to the top. And you know why? Because even if Chelsea don't get it right, they will buy until they get it right. And they have bought some very, very good footballers, right? That when it clicks, they will be a very good team. And as a Spurs fan, I know my place. Yeah. If we are going to laugh at a team that are 10 points behind us for one season, what am I enjoying about that? They're going to win something before we do. You sound grumpy and bitter. Like you just sound like you're never going to enjoy football, because with you, there's always something negative about every positive. Like you should actually, like I said, enjoy the actual moment. But Pat, you can't explain. Hang on. No, don't call me grumpy. Hang on. Listen, just because I'm not deluded doesn't.
I'm not deluded either. But you sound like you were. You can't
tell me I'm grumpy.
No, I don't.
You can't tell me I'm grumpy because I use my common sense.
Because you're always saying, "Oh, we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that." What should you do, Savva? What should you do? What? You're saying, "Oh, you shouldn't laugh at you." Well, no, you shouldn't enjoy the fact that you're better than Chelsea at the moment. You shouldn't do so. What are you meant to do then as a football fan? What's the point of?
I don't know, but I don't know about you, but do you know what? There's this certain thing in me called ambition, right? Finishing above Chelsea for one season and finishing 4th. I don't know what I'm like. What am I laughing at?
Don't put words in my mouth, because I never said none of this. This is not what
I didn't say you did.
So don't talk about this ambition stuff. I never said none of this. But what I'm trying to say is that you're saying,
where's the ambition?
Talk to Daniel Levy. You know my thoughts on Daniel.
No. Let's have a conversation that doesn't involve Daniel Levy. Let's have let's have a Spurs conversation which doesn't involve Daniel Levy. We're above Chelsea.
Yeah.
Right. What am I laughing at though? Yeah, we're above them. What am I laughing at? That's what I want to know.
Well, first and foremost, this whole in the mud thing about Chelsea, that's not stuff I say. So you don't see me saying that. But what I'm trying to say is that why shouldn't you enjoy this moment if you're better than one of your rivals? You should enjoy it. You should lap it up. And then obviously you move on. That was my point. All this other stuff. Saying,
we're above them. I don't know why, what I'm enjoying about it. I don't know. I'm watching some of the worst football I've ever seen at Tottenham Hotspur, right? I'm watching a manager that is, I won't even get into Antonio Conte, and I'm watching a team over there that are in transition. What is it that you want me to enjoy? That we're above them for this moment in time?
For this season, yeah. Why shouldn't you? Anyway,
because you know why, Patrick? I'll tell you why. Been here, seen it, done it, learnt my lesson.
What lesson
is that? Not my first rodeo.
What lesson is that? What lesson is that?
Well, my lesson is this. I've seen Spurs fans for years and years and years. whoever the big team is that's below us for that individual season, we get all happy and look at them. They come back the next year, they win something, or 2 years later, and then we're all sitting there going, oh, God, it's terrible. They're all winning things. Yeah, but you were laughing at them last year. Foresight. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm not grumpy. If being honest comes across as grumpy, I apologize to the show and everyone in the comments. But I see this year after year after year from Spurs fans. We don't learn. That's my point.
I look at it this way. I think that if you beat Chelsea in a game, celebrate. If you see Chelsea lose, like, you laugh at it. But I get where Savva's coming from. And Patty, we've had this conversation publicly and privately a few times recently. The way Spurs fans were talking about Man United as an example this summer, laughing that we hadn't won a trophy in 6 years, and then saying we'll win one before you. And then when you get bantered, and then as a club, you guys get bantered when the reverse happens, and then say, well, why are you guys talking about us? Because there was a lot of chat, and it may have been 1 or 2 people saying it, but that's not how social media. But that's not how social media works. Patty, that's everywhere. Patty, that's not. Hang on, guys. I'll answer it. Patty, that's not how social media works. If I make a video tonight saying the sky is red, and 200,000 people watch it and comment and go, yeah, I agree, hit the like and share button, that's 200,000 people agreeing with it. They haven't all got to be the ones saying it. It's about the traction that it gets. When I said that your season was overrated, your summer transfer window was overrated, and I got dogs abuse, people threatening to put my children's address on the internet, it wasn't coming from one person. It was him saying it, and then his army of followers who support Tottenham behind him. That's Tottenham fans doing it. So, of course, when we beat you to a trophy and your season collapses, I'll come for those people. But there wasn't a mass of Tottenham fans going, whoa, don't say that. United are bigger and better than us. It was being either endorsed publicly or silently clapped. Like, I'm not saying it myself, but I'm going to sit in the back and just kind of clap it a little bit. That's how social media works, bro. So it's not 20,000 Spurs fans all saying the same thing, but there's hundreds of thousands of them endorsing a particular message. And Spurs fans do get too giddy every year. You see a team struggling that's bigger and better than you, and you laugh at them. And I understand laughing at them in isolation, but the whole, you're dead, you're never coming back, we're clear of you now, there's been a power shift in North London. There was never a power shift because you didn't win a single trophy in that time. You know, the power shift is about, I think that's what people are talking about, Patty, personally, that Spurs fans win nothing, but sort of celebrate being bigger than teams that are just having an off year. Or an off couple of years, you know. I think that's what Savva's saying, and I get it because I've had it in my neck a lot from Spurs fans this year, and it was the weirdest flex I've ever seen in my life. It was crazy to me. It's crazy. We've got some super chats here I want to do because lots have come in. This first one says, Conte said it best, finishing top 4 is like a trophy. Ambition is the future, is what Blick Gemini has got to say here. HK says, Get this Spurs fan on more. Most rational Spurs fan I've ever heard. Patrick is happy with finishing above a trophy.
No, I'm not happy, but also at the same time, I'm not gonna. Why would I be pissed off if I'm finishing above my rivals? Football is about rivalries. It is about derbies. That is part.
No one's pissed off though. Hang on, no one's pissed off.
But to say I'm happy, yeah, of course I'm gonna enjoy it and cherish it. But to say that that's me, I'm happy. I've also. Anyway, you lot know my thoughts about what I wanted this season and what my ambitions were. So this HK guy is chatting shit, basically.
Raul says, bottom right, bro, what are you enjoying exactly? You are the perfect example of a Spurs fan content with mediocrity, staying down, king.
Okay.
Whatever. You still don't win anything, though, Patrick. That's the point, is what Gareth is saying here. Mateos says, this is legit football cannibalism. Cooked his own Spurs brother and sisters. Talking about you, Savva the cannibal. I think that we can make that catch on. I kind of like that name.
I'm old. I've seen this game so many times. I've seen every year. Spurs fan, I told you last week, Terry, Spurs fans in the summer. We've won the transfer window. You're on Arsenal in our rearview mirror. Arteta's a B-Tech Guardiola, and we've got Conte as a serial winner. All these things. All of a sudden, Arsenal are 20 points clear of us. And it's like, where are those fans now that were saying these very things? It's changed. Now we've not got a good squad. But in the summer, Arsenal were awful apparently, and we were going to roast them. And that's why I don't go too far this way and I don't go too far that way. I stay in my lane. I know who I am. I know what my club is. And I will enjoy something when there's something to enjoy. But watching a team like Chelsea build for the future, bearing in mind, right? Sorry, last thing I'll say, Terry, sorry.
That's what, mate. All the time
We're
in the world.
laughing at Chelsea for spending 600 million, but we're laughing at them for the short term. What they're doing is exactly what everyone wants Daniel Levy to do at Tottenham, but they're doing it in 2 windows instead of taking 400 windows to do it. They're building young centre-backs, young centre-mids, young forwards like Nkunku coming in and Mudryk and Felix, whatever. They're doing exactly what we want our owners to do. But because they've done it in this isolated little bubble and it hasn't yielded a Premier League title in year 1, everyone's laughing at them. I'm going to wait for it to collapse properly in 2-3 years before I get all giddy about it. That's all I'm going to say.
Can I just say one thing as well? When you say laughing, who's laughing at what they've done? Everyone admires what they've done in terms of actual spending. Most clubs wish they could do it. If you're laughing at where they are right now. So again, when you say about Tottenham doing this, Tottenham doing that, I think you need to be a bit more balanced and down the middle, because a lot of Tottenham fans would have said that Arsenal would finish in the top 4, like I did at the beginning of the season. No one was saying that Arsenal. You said about the squads being better and this and that.
You keep
so
doing
I don't really get.
Where are these Spurs fans? They're everywhere, mate. On my channel,
I don't know.
On my channel in the summer,
I don't know. I know a lot of Spurs fans, and I don't see these Spurs fans. So
I've made it up. I'm
not saying you made it up.
I don't know any
I'm
Spurs
just saying, just be a bit more balanced with what you're saying. Like you're going.
Patrick, I get told off for being. I get told off for being balanced.
Be a bit more balanced. That's what I'm saying.
Right, hang on. First of all, absolute BS what you've just said there, and I'm going to call you out for this. Balanced. As a Spurs fan, I sat at the beginning of the season and I said, Spurs will be 4th, no more, no less. And I said, Spurs will be 4th for one reason and one reason only, and it is Harry Kane. And I said, everyone needs to calm down all the Arsenal hate, and everyone needs to calm down all the title talk. I saw loads of Spurs fans coming into my channel saying things like, look at the squad, we've got 2 players in every position. We're going to finish on 86, 88 points. None of that has materialised.
I don't know. I never saw Spurs fans saying this either.
But Pat,
86 points, winning titles. What? Like, where did you see that? I never saw that.
Pat, I've got a Spurs YouTube channel, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. I've got a Spurs YouTube channel. 700 people watch me on a Sunday night, right? Do you not think I get these views in my comments all day long? Right? I'm not making this up. Spurs fans are the most deluded fans in football. We go from famine to feast. We're going to challenge. We're going to do this. We've got Conte. We've won the transfer window. To, oh my God, no, we're terrible. We haven't backed Conte. Rah, rah, rah. There's no, and then you tell me I need to be balanced because I'm calling it correctly. Wow. Sorry. I can't.
I mean, listen, this is what the show's for, a bit of challenge. I'll stay out of it. It's a super chat here. Says, I love this Spurs fan and I'm a gooner. He's not delusional at all, is what Gareth Roberts says here. Sonny, you are young. Listen to your elders on this panel.
I didn't say anything, man.
Sonny catching a big stray here.
I didn't say anything.
AMT, you know, and that made me laugh. Winter Surfer, who's a Chelsea fan, says that you are not our rivals. You just live in the same city, is what Winter Surfer says. Jerome, who's a Tottenham fan, says, Patrick, let's face it, we do it every single season. Look at us every season. Dump out of the cup competitions in embarrassment, is what Jerome says here. Belay says, a rational Spurs fan is right. X laughed at Troops all summer for finishing 4th, but now he's off to Dubai for obvious reasons. Big up X oozing. I mean, so that's a very good example, to be honest with you. That was funny. That was a great song. Was it Hi Ho, Troops is a yo? That was a funny song, though. That was funny. Love me a good cockfight.
Pause.
Pat, you're hitting borderline stubbornness. He has his points and he's right, is what Tevin says here.
I'm not being stubborn. I just don't agree with everything he's saying. So I don't know why that has to be me being stubborn. I don't have to agree with everything someone says, regardless if they're a fellow fan or not. And if I don't agree, I'm going to speak up on it. It's not about being stubborn. I think Arsenal, of course, Arsenal fans are going to like what he's saying because it's anti-Spurs, but also at the same time, if I don't agree with it, I'm going to speak my piece because not every Spurs fan.
It's not even anti-Spurs
So,
though.
It's not
just
anti-Spurs.
It's
It's
to me,
honest.
I don't.
It's too far like the other way. That's what I'm saying. So it's not about being honest. It's we
Pat,
go around in circles. We'll go around in circles. It's long. There's
No,
other stuff
but
to
tell me
discuss.
how I'm too far the other way. I said we'd finish fourth. How is that too far the other way?
Like I said, it's too much. Let's move on because we're never gonna see eye to eye.
That doesn't make sense. How is it too much?
It makes sense. I've explained myself and I've gone on and said what I need to say about it. It's cool.
Okay. I mean, if me being accurate is too much, then I'm sorry that hurts you.
It doesn't hurt me. Like let's not be silly. And who's to say you're accurate? Not everything you said is accurate, and I'm not hurt by it. But
tell
like
me
I said,
one
I
thing
don't
I've
want to
just said
keep.
there that isn't true.
You keep saying,
Go on.
well,
if you could tell me three things I said that weren't true,
I'm not
say
doing
sorry.
all this. Tell me three things. Why are you trying to tell me to say this and that? I've already said
I'm
what I
asking
need to
you,
say.
what did I say?
I've already said what I need to say.
Okay, so you can't tell me a single thing I said that wasn't true.
I can tell you, but I'm not going to keep going around in circles. I've already expressed myself.
Okay, but I haven't seen a single thing. All right, cool. If anyone else can write an answer on a postcard, cool.
I don't even know if any of this stuff is like necessarily anti-Spurs. Like from an Arsenal perspective, I just remember like we haven't even been good for a long time. Like it's literally been a season. So, but we have been crap for a long time. And laughing at our rivals for losing a cup or going out of Champions League or the odd time that they finished below us, it was fun, but it felt empty because we weren't winning anything. And I think that's just what he's saying is like, you can, but it feels, for me, it felt empty. If it doesn't feel empty for you, Pat, then that's fine. But, you know, it's not anti-Spurs. It's just from experience when your team ain't winning and all you get joy from is laughing at teams that are doing, you know, kind of the same as you or a little bit better, a little bit worse for going out of competitions and being below you. It feels empty when you're not winning anything, you know?
Yeah. I agree. And I think, listen, I mean, Sav may not even agree with this one, but I do feel, because I've heard it on the airways, again, I've maybe heard about 7 or 8 Spurs fans phone in to talk sport. And they're angry. Like, they'll talk Conte for me, football's bad, I really wanted to get gone. And then the anger really increases when, of course, the presenter does this on purpose, where they say, what are your thoughts on Arsenal this year? The anger goes to a whole new level. Oh, they're cheats, and it's set up for them to win, and they're not this good. And I said it all along, I don't even think Spurs fans would be as angry about this season. The Spurs fans that predicted winning trophies and winning titles, I mean, if Arsenal was sitting 6th right now, these Spurs fans would be content with where they are. It's all like, I think some Spurs fans, yes, they'd love to win the league and Champions League, but as long as they're ahead of a rival or two, irrespective of where they are in the pyramid, they're all right. And this season with Arsenal doing so well, I think it's really broken a lot of Tottenham fans because they haven't had, well, at least we're ahead of Arsenal trophy, which I think they've raised. And that's about standards. Like, I love finishing in front of Liverpool. If we finish 5th this year and they finish 6th, it will mean nothing to me. It would mean absolutely nothing. And I suppose maybe that's the difference between, you know, not every fan's like it, but there we go. This here says, since when is Lee a Spurs fan? Are you saying he's being like Lee Gunner? I wouldn't say that's fair, but there we go. Jerome here says it's not anti-Spurs, Patrick. Spurs' objectives is only top 4, and it is time for us to stop looking at other teams and look at our own problems. That's all Savva is saying. TBG says he's pro-Spurs. He wants the best for the club. Other than Spurs' location, how are they anyone in London's rivals when they don't compete? They're just there, is what TBG says. Savva, don't wait for your breath. Patty loves losing. Meanwhile, my club sits 5 points clear because we ain't okay with being a laughing stock, is what Raul has got to say. You man can't even chat to Leicester fans, is what Turbo Jesus says here. That made me laugh. Hakeem says Patrick is the Spurs equivalent of a top red. No, I wouldn't say that. Top reds aren't the nice people. Patty's a lovely man. Pat is a prime example of a flip-flop Spurs fan. I'm not too sure what Patty's flip-flops about here, to be fair.
I don't know what I flip-flop about. My views are always the same. I always say the same thing. I don't know what I'm flip-flopping on. So
this here says, Pat, you are the Spursy gal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There we go. Savva, you get to Patrick on your channel as you both with Tobes, X, and Fuad are the top 5 Spurs content creators because you all keep it real. That's from me as a diehard Arsenal supporter, is what Ree's got to say. Thank you for the super chat, bro. You keep telling him there are no Spurs fans saying what he says. It makes no sense. Tell a YouTuber that no one says something when his channel members say it, is what Tevin's got to say here. Sonny, now grow a beard before you make predictions. Savva, well said, bro. Another straight episode.
I'm gonna start talking again, bro. What's going on?
I know. Patrick been chatting BS. Don't think we ain't got them receipts. You remember what some of your fans were saying. Football is a humbler, my young G, is what HK has got to say here. Pat, you're hitting borderline stubbornness. He's had his points and he's right. Sorry, I've already done that one. I apologize. Sorry. The difference is when Chelsea are better, they win things. When Spurs are better, they don't. What are you enjoying? Mediocrity is what Tyrone has got to say here. I think we've kind of covered that, Tyrone, but thank you, bro. To that Spurs, that clown Spurs fan, Daniel Levy will send your club to purgatory by being cheap. Bowley is planning for the future. Chelsea will be good long term, is what Miguel says here.
I don't know why he's calling me a clown. A, I'm not pro Levy. B, I've already said that I like what Bowley's done. So I don't really understand why you're calling me a clown and Chelsea will be good long term. The thing is, you don't know Chelsea will be good long term. It looks like it could work, but it also might not. Sometimes when you add too many ingredients at the same time, you still don't know if Potter's going to be the right man going forward. If you get a new coach, you still don't know how long it's going to take for him to implement his players or sort his system. If he's going to like some of these players or still need to move them on. They're on long-term contracts. So if he doesn't like an Enzo or a Mudvik, for example, it's going to take ages to get them out because they're going to be on big, long contracts and wages, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot that could work with Chelsea. There's a lot that couldn't. So we'll see.
I hear that. If not for his blinkered eyes, I think Pat's frozen. Is what Oba says here. Pat's just cool, calm, and collected, my guy.
No, I don't need to get angry and everything. I don't really understand that.
He ain't me. I'll be fuming. I'll be going crazy right now. Tottenham's entire club is a liability. Liverpool are making top 4. That's from an Arsenal fan, Nima. Thank you for that super chat, Nima. This is to Sonny. Sonny, I'm glad you're out of prison, or was you hiding somewhere remote? At the end of the season, when you're Premier League champs, you will apologize for the disrespect, or you will be wrong and strong.
What's the point in saying that now? What's the point? Like, you ain't won no league title. Like, when you win the league title, come back and then
you talk. The ear from Ab says, Terry, the last time Casemiro was suspended, rivals said we were doomed. We took 7 points from a possible 9, so it was not the collapse rivals wanted. That's why I've still got faith, my friend. Great super chat there, buddy. Terry, you asked if Chelsea could make top 4. Liverpool, Brighton, Man United, Brentford, Arsenal, City, Newcastle to play from 12. What do you think? Yeah, I don't think Chelsea can do it now. Chelsea, look, they've looked improved, but there's just too many teams you'd need to collapse to make it. And again, it's not based on maths, it's probability. And the likelihood of that happening is thousands and thousands and thousands to 1. With how bad refereeing has been, wondering if the Premier League not doing so well in the Champions League because we've been sending the lucky teams instead of the best ones. I don't think it's that. We've had 2 teams drop off this year that are in the Champions League and 2 teams rise up in the Premier League that are not there. It's just, it just sometimes happens in that way, my friend. I don't think that's anything to do with the refereeing. Tell me, Liverpool fans bigging up one result for a dismal season by their standards just shows that everything is becoming reactionary. Consistency is key. Akil, I agree with you, my friend. You're absolutely.
We were 5 league games on the bounce when we had that United game, but that's fine.
Spot on, you are there. This here from Jerome again says, "Wait, why is Patty getting cooked? Whereas there's a young man to the left, Sonny, who needs to be roasted after his 5-0 prediction."
It's clear you've just tuned in.
Yeah, Jerome. He
happened at the beginning.
But he got fried, cooked, roasted, one after the other, boiled. He was done.
That.
Man's been cooked in every way. If not, I've already done that one there. Tottenham can't even compete transfer-wise with Arsenal, is what Zach has got to say. Patrick, thank you for this £5 donation. You didn't say anything, but thank you very, very much for donating.
What does this picture say? I love bathrooms.
Nothing wrong with loving a bathroom.
Listen,
it can
I've
be a
never
very nice
seen
place.
I've never seen that before, but rate it. Top.
It
top.
can be a very,
Crazy
very
king.
nice place. Terry, I wish you wouldn't read out comments abusing panelists. Pat is entitled to his opinion. No need for people to call him a clown. Look, I get it. I mean, I don't think Patrick's going to go home and be worried about the comment. Firstly, I know Patrick well enough. Secondly, people pay them, and I wouldn't call someone a clown. Is that abusive, or is that just maybe a bit of a joke? Do you take it abusively, Patrick? I won't read him anymore if you do.
No, I don't. I think the guy who said it is a mug, though, because what he said afterwards didn't really make sense, and I explained myself clearly. And people saying I'm being cooked just because someone doesn't agree with like my opinion, or I don't agree with theirs. We're having a chat. Doesn't mean I'm getting cooked. People need to come out
I'm
of
being
this
called an
mindset.
Arsenal fan. I'm being called an Arsenal
It's
fan.
mad. Like
So...
people can agree. Like fans rival. Savva and
So that was a
like,
compliment to you then, Sav, then, if you're being called an Arsenal fan.
Oh, don't you
That's
start.
not abuse. What are
Don't
you
you
talking
start.
about? What are you talking
Savva
about?
the Gooner. I like that. It's got a ring to it. Savva the Cannibal Gooner.
I can see him in the red. I can see it.
Listen, when I take this off, there's a Man City shirt ready.
But now, what I will say is respect to Matt, because obviously what he said, I understand the sentiment on it. People shouldn't be saying, calling people names because they don't agree with their opinion. But no, it's cool. I can handle myself.
Personally, Patty, Personally, Patty, I think calling you a clown is far nicer than someone calling you a gal. So, do you know what I mean?
Tottenham's a gal. I don't know where that one come from. It's funny though. But big up to a gal. I like a gal.
I love a gal.
Passionate Arsenal fan. I love him. Yeah. I don't always agree with him, but I do like him.
I hear you, bro. Golden era, no trophies. United, Arsenal's banter era, we still picked up trophies. He says Savva, but I think he means Savva is right in all he says. Savva there. Name change. Yeah, it's true.
It's the lover, man.
Yeah.
Never heard that before. Never.
Savva. I like it. But you don't want Colleen. You might actually have a partner, so I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you don't want Colleen to find you attractive, Sav, because Colleen only...
cut his mic.
Colleen only finds ugly men attractive. So if Colleen never says I like you, she's basically saying you're ugly, innit? You know what I'm saying? The two men she fancies the most out of all TV people involved in football and football people is Unai Emery and Gary Neville.
Gary Neville's a very attractive older man.
And that's what I'm saying. She loves the uggers. So if you like your Sav, tell her to do one.
Just cut his mic. Cut his mic.
Bowley isn't in charge of transfers anymore. He's bringing in people that actually know what they are doing. Just doing what the other American owners aren't, is what Daniel has got to say.
Stan Kroenke is not in charge of our transfers, so no, but okay.
Good segue. Here's a perfect segue to the beautiful football of Arsenal. Now, that is the next voted in talking point. So viewers, make sure like buttons have been hit. Make sure you are following us, by the way, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. The link's in our description or comment section or the live comment section. Go and get us followed over there. Take you 30 seconds and come back. Make sure you're following the Terrace there. 2 exclusive podcasts uploaded that you can listen to at your leisure. It's hard, and that's hard to do on YouTube because YouTube, you can't shut your phone or anything unless you use premium. But go and follow us over there on those platforms as well. But a brilliant result at the weekend for Arsenal. Absolutely smashing and destroying Fulham. 5 points clear with an opportunity now, Colleen, to go 8 points clear because City don't play in the Premier League this weekend. Give me your take on the performance yesterday, first of all.
I think that first half in particular, I don't know if Jess agrees with me, but I thought that was one of our best halves of football this season. It was beyond total domination. And what I particularly liked about it was how we started to mix it up. A few weeks ago, there was questions around, okay, can Arsenal actually go through a complete deep block or a defensive-minded team? And what was really nice was to be able to see Trossard trying to mix, and Trossard and Ødegaard mix up, being a bit more narrow, Trossard coming deeper, these kind of tactical switches. And I just thought the performance was fabulous because, let's not get it wrong, Craven Cottage, although it might not be the loudest atmosphere of a ground to go to, it's a traditional tight ground. And Fulham have been amazing this season. I know they didn't have any Paulinho in the team that day, but it should never have been a walkover as it was that first half anyway. And I think you had people like Micah Richards and a few people online saying before, the way that Man City had won against Crystal Palace when they probably should have drawn the game, the manner of how they got their goal, was thinking, oh, okay, can Arsenal take that psychological battle of them just, you know, nicking it when they probably shouldn't? And Arsenal came out ready, raring to go. And I've said this week in, week out, I'm just consistently falling more and more in love with this team. It just feels like an Arsenal that I've known from decades gone by. And yeah, I just thought absolutely champagne football. Loved it. Trossard, what an acquisition. Yeah. What an acquisition. It might have been a blessing in disguise us missing out on Mudryk in the short term anyway. In the short term.
Yeah. Definitely best like away performance of the season, I think. I think a lot of us thought it was Brentford, but it was definitely this. The football. And like you said, like a lot of people were like, okay, Man City won this game. You guys are under pressure. Those boys looked like they were playing with no pressure on them whatsoever. They looked free. They were playing free-flowing football. I mean, it was fun to watch. And yeah, like Trossard is definitely like January signing. The best January signing. Like it's not even close. You have somebody come straight into your team, knows how to play the way that you do. And he looks like he's been there forever. We got the boost of Jesus is back. I mean, this is perfect going into the run-in or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be more difficult based on like kind of how our last couple of games went and, you know, Fulham being so good. But the issue with Fulham that, you know, other teams had kind of figured out was like, don't open up against us. I've been saying this for a couple of weeks. Like teams decided to sit in because they felt like that was the best way to nick some points against us. And Fulham tried to go toe to toe and press us and they got destroyed. And so I'm happy that they did that. You know, I'm happy that they did that. So yeah, perfect performance. 3-0 game was over in the first half and we got to rotate and rest some players. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly was a sensational performance. And especially the second half was, but it was just first gear. So of course people will say, oh, you weren't as dominant, but that was by design. You know, you took your foot off the gas, you let them play a bit, you let them run around, but you were out of this world in the first half. And for me, watching the togetherness of the team, the shape, the disciplined nature of it, how you got back into shape every time they got the ball reminded me of a few weeks ago against Leicester. That work rate from Arsenal is kind of not unprecedented in the league. It's what made Liverpool and City so successful over the last 5 to 6 years. It was just brilliant to see, just from a footballing standpoint. As a rival, it's horrible to see. But equally, I want you to win the league and not City, but I don't want that three-peat happening. So I was like, great. And I was worried. I was slightly worried because everyone's been writing Arsenal off. There's always this talk about, you know, City are going to keep doing it. City are not going to go away. City are going to keep winning. City's performance is this. Arsenal leaking goals. And the way Arsenal stepped up, conceded nothing. They shut Gary Neville down in his tracks. And anybody that kind of believes in that notion. And it also reminded me of what Big Steve said. So we had Big Steve on the show. When was he on? Big Steve would have been on Wednesday talking about Arsenal's mentality. And I'll play it for you all. This is what Big Steve had to say. Take a little listen to this.
Saying Manchester City are not built like us. We are different. Hold on a minute. We've been doing this for a decade, winning league titles in the last minute from 2 goals behind. So winning 3-2 against Bournemouth in a game that you're supposed to win, that everybody else had already put down on the coupon as a home win, nobody's asked. If you want to paper over the cracks and say we came back and we won it, that's great, fine. You won it last minute, but it's a game you're supposed to win. Fair play to you. But if you take a look at the last 10 games or so, they lost to Everton, drew to Brentford, been beat off City twice, yeah. Aston Villa off the crossbar, hit the goalkeeper on the head and went in the last minute. And then the last minute against Bournemouth, when 2-0 down, it ain't all rosy in the garden. This is why I said outside the Emirates, when they were all outside the Emirates in front of me, saying, we've lost the league, Steve, you're going to get us now, we shit it, and all this. That's what they were saying. In real life, they were saying that. So all this confidence in front of the cameras and on the internet, it's not real confidence, it's fake. That's why I said there's a big blue shark behind you in the water.
Obviously, that's what Steve had to say, like really kind of saying that Arsenal are fragile, that we should be listening to Gary Neville. And I thought the response from Arsenal, not that the Arsenal players would have necessarily watched what Big Steve had said, but I'm a firm believer in how a fan base feels creeps into dressing rooms. I've said it for many years and I'll stand by it, especially in the social media era. But the way in which Arsenal played in response to all the criticism, both from fans and the media, I thought was sensational. Like from your point of view, Sonny, I know you're someone who doubts Arsenal, Are you still doubting them after that scintillating performance at the weekend?
Yeah, I think a good example. I don't know if I misunderstood what Steve said there or if it was something else, but I think he said something along the lines of when Arsenal drop points, they're scared, and as they should be. When Man City, let's swap it around. Say Man City were 5 points clear, and they drop points to Fulham, and it was only the gap was like 3 points. Nobody would even bat an eyelid because Manchester City are still good enough to go to the end of the season winning all those games. Arsenal, for me, fair play against Fulham. I got that wrong. My prediction was wrong, but my prediction for that game was wrong. I still stand by Manchester City will win the league because they're far better than Arsenal. The manager's better than Arsenal and the players. And the biggest thing for me is, I think if we go back to maybe a year ago today, all these Arsenal players that are doing great now, fair enough, I didn't rate any of them. Jesus at City, I didn't rate. Zinchenko at City, I didn't rate. Trossard last season, he's at Brighton. I don't even know if I've known him. Who else is there? Saka, Martinelli, they're good youngsters, okay? But none of these players are for me, title-winning players. I think you have to wait your turn. And I think Manchester City are I don't know how to explain it. I just think, for me, it's obvious. I think they're just better than Arsenal. I don't know what
if they're better than Arsenal, why are they?
Just like they were better than you guys.
Hang on.
This is PTSD from all your time trying to
season.
win, and you couldn't win off of the back of City. You don't put your PTSD off on us.
This
we
is
can
not about
win
Liverpool.
the title,
This is nothing about
and our
Liverpool.
players are good. No, first of all, your footballing opinion, no offense, but half the stuff you say is just whatever just comes to your head at the moment. So just because you don't rate our player doesn't mean that that's facts. Oh, I didn't even know. Who's Trossard? You know Trossard. He scored 3 goals against you guys in one game. You know Trossard.
He did.
Okay. No, you know him.
You're missing my point.
Or you don't watch games because I can actually say that might actually be it because I don't think maybe you don't watch games.
Okay, well let me reply. Right?
Players, right?
When I say that I don't rate these players haven't shown me that they're good enough to win a Premier League title. Do you know how hard it is?
Arsenal's never going to be able to do that until they do that. Arsenal can't do it until they do it. So
and these players last season were bottling top 4. It's such a big jump. Now, I think it's too big of a jump.
And now they're top. But I think what you're saying, I don't think it's necessarily incorrect or what Steve is saying is incorrect. But I think a lot of the narrative is because a lot of people have only of remembering Arsenal the last 10 years because apparently that's the last, that's when Arsenal was first founded 10 years ago. Was that we've not been challenging. So no one's going to believe Arsenal has that mentality to be able to get and win a Premier League title until we actually do it. So we'll always continue having these discussions because Arsenal haven't done it recently, whereas Man City have. But to say that Man City are not the better team right now, whether they have the better individual players versus how they're actually playing as a collective is 2 different things. Arsenal are the best team in the country as of right now. That is a fact.
On form, yeah.
So Sonny talks about Arsenal as if we're Leicester. That's what's annoying about it's not that you guys don't think that you think Man City are going to win it. It's the way that you describe us is as if we're Leicester. Well, you bottled top 4 last season. Well, that was last season. You guys were going for the title, and now look at you. So, and you're acting like you're still Liverpool of last season.
It's a lot easier to get worse.
You know what I'm saying? Teams change. Times change. You're no longer the team that you were. We're no longer the team that we are. Just because you guys, only could beat Man City one time to the title doesn't mean that Arsenal, with a team that you don't rate, can't do it this season. You talk about us as if we're Leicester, and I think the way that you say it is a little bit I feel like you're trying to really downplay our players, and even to say that you. Trossard was at Brighton, Jota was at Wolves. Some of your players were at lower level Premier League teams. What the hell does that mean? What does that even mean?
Okay, can I say again? I still think you're missing my point. Arsenal,
I'm not. Your point. No, I don't need to hear your point.
Tell me which Arsenal fan predicted Arsenal to win the league this season?
I did.
Arsenal fan?
I did.
No, you did not.
Terry,
no, hang on, Sonny. First of all, Colleen did predict it. My second question is, hang on a minute. Sorry, Sonny, how do you not know who Trossard is when he scored a hat-trick at Anfield?
I said that.
That was this season.
Oh, sorry, I must have missed it. I didn't hear you say that. I'm sorry. My ears must have been blocked out.
I said last season.
Because he's talking out of his ass. That's why I don't even know who Trossard is.
No, because I said last season.
He was still a bit of a baller last season. The thing is, what I don't understand is what would it... like, it goes back to my original point of until Arsenal do it, everyone's gonna just disagree and say they can't do it, because in what position do Arsenal need to be in for you to believe that we can actually win the league then? Do we need to be like Napoli, be 18 points ahead? Do Man City not need to be in the title race? Like, what more can Arsenal do to convince you so far that they actually have a chance of winning this league? Like, what more?
They need to go and win the league.
Well, that's exactly my point. That's exactly my point.
A chance.
What's your point?
My point was...
Sorry. So you say it again. Sorry, Colin. Sorry.
No, my point was, until this discourse won't stop until Arsenal actually win the league, because otherwise you're just going to keep saying, well, we've not seen it. Man City have got the experience. Until Arsenal win it, we're not going to be able to change your mind, because I'm saying to you, what position do Arsenal need to be in this right now, in this second, this amount of games gone? What have Arsenal need to have done better to have been able to convince you, or to even think they even have a chance of winning the league? Because what more can they do?
I'll answer that. So let's say Arsenal's achievement last season was top 4. Look how they bottled that. But let's say this season, Arsenal's achievement was not to win the league. So that's another point. But besides that, Arsenal, for me, could easily bottle it again. Who's to say Liverpool bottled how many league titles? And because we based it off that, we'll go, no, they can't win it this season. Whenever they had a chance of winning it, everyone wrote Liverpool off when they were playing against such a good Manchester City team. Now it's Arsenal's turn to lose this Manchester City team.
This season, what has Arsenal shown you to not give you a chance?
Arsenal shown me a very good team for the future. That's what they've shown me.
So Sonny, what you're doing though there is you saw people writing off Liverpool when they shouldn't. So you're just passing on the same poor analysis.
No, I believe.
But again, you just sort of said, well, no one gave us that credit, and this is what happens. You see, the year you won the league. Sorry, the year before you won the league when you came second, that summer, I remember doing a season preview with the Coppish boys. And I said, I think you guys could win the league this year. And they said, maybe, maybe not. I got cooked in the comments. There's no way Liverpool catch up from being scraping fourth to competing for the league title against the Centurions. You finished 1 point away. This is the problem when football fans do their analysis based on how they feel about a football club or how they feel they've been treated by football fans as opposed to what they really believe. In this season, there is no evidence to suggest that Arsenal can't go on to win the league. You're not saying they could, but I don't think they will. You're saying there's zero chance that they can win the league.
I'm not saying there's zero chance.
Okay, well, that's how. Okay, but that's how it comes across and sounds. It doesn't sound like you're saying they've got. And this is why Gary Neville's been cooked by so many people. He dismisses Arsenal and then throws in. They could win it, but I don't think they will. All Arsenal fans want is some fair analysis from people. Now, as fans, you could argue that we're there to banter, but banter should be 20% of football conversation, not 90% of football conversation. Otherwise, it just becomes one of those weird spaces on Twitter, which is just I've listened to one today for 3 hours while I was working, and by the end of it, there was no resolution, no conclusion, no point made. It was just 30 people shouting banter at each other for 4 hours. Honestly, it's weird. I won't be listening again. But Sonny, I don't know, man. I think for me, I believe it's the PS. This said here by Joshua. Sonny, that's the PS.
I agree, but that's not a problem. That's not a problem.
So you agree with it then? So this is not based on anything but the fact that Liverpool could not do it. We said this last week. Liverpool could only do it once. You're looking at an Arsenal team and you're like, you're not anything like the team that we have, so you can't do it. I don't rate any of your players. I'm sorry, but even if as an Arsenal fan, I look at Spurs, I can't stand them, but I'm not about to look at their team sitting in 5th or 4th or wherever they are and say, I don't rate a single one of their players. I don't think that they can do anything. As a top 6, like on a top 6 panel, you're not about to sit here and say that you don't rate any players on one team. It's a fallacy. It's a lie.
I didn't say that.
And then to say that you don't know who the players are, I'm sorry, but it's just like it dumbs down the conversation too much.
You're exaggerating completely. I said last season I didn't rate most of Arsenal's players this season. And when I say rate, I don't mean I thought they were awful. I mean, I don't think they could ever go for a league title if they were to play almost every game of the season. And I just think for Arsenal, going back to the PTSD,
I don't see any players that could win a title.
The PTSD is not from Liverpool. The PTSD is from Manchester City. I don't want any of you on this panel saying it was Liverpool's fault we lost the title. We lost the title because Manchester City went on amazing runs because that's what they're capable of. And I don't even know how many years in a row they've done that for. Against Arsenal, when you say, oh, you can't say Arsenal can't do it just because Liverpool didn't. Arsenal have never done it, okay? So I'm not going to believe until I see this. Look at last season. The jump is too big for me to go from bottling top 4 to winning the Premier League. That's what I'm basing my facts off. And that players you added in, are good additions, but I didn't think that they could really do that. They're doing good, but I don't think they're good enough to win you the league.
Fair enough. We're going to
It
go
was
to some of the
PTSD.
we're going to go to some of the comments that have come through here. First one says, this was a funny. I put this one up more for me because it made me chuckle. From my mate Jay, he says Terry is one of the most deluded people I've ever come across. Hindsight merchant, and I told you so merchant. Contradictory as ever. If you could, honestly, on a real level, if you can point out what I've contradicted myself on, I'd love to hear it because I pride myself on not doing that. And I'm not a hindsight merchant. My favorite saying is hindsight is a lucrative commodity, basically meaning that it's with hindsight you learn. But yes, I need to know what you're referring to. I'm interested, Jay. I love talking to trolls. Thank you, my friend. This here says Sonny, Arsenal weren't on 84 points from December to March when fit. They only lost top 4 when Partey, KT, and White got hurt. We're better this year and have more depth. Is what's been said here. Why don't you didn't know Luis Diaz before you bought him? Does that make him bad?
I mean, you don't know I didn't know Luis Diaz. Where did you get that information?
How did you know Luis
Chances
Diaz?
are
and
you didn't know
Brighton?
Because he was a baller for Porto. He was their best player before we bought him.
So you watched,
And Trossard's in the Premier League. You play
Yeah,
against Trossard.
He's taking the piss. Of
We
course,
also-
he knew who Trossard was. There's no way. He didn't know who
I did
Trossard
not know.
was.
I promise you right now. Last season, I did not know who Trossard was.
Wow,
Well,
the
He's one of
Trossard
those
that
players-
plays for Belgium.
You know when you
isn't
play.
it?
You know when you play teams like Brentford, and of course, obviously they have 11 players on the pitch. I
Nah,
can't name
nah.
you 11 players that Brentford are putting out.
You should know who Trossard is. Come on, man. You shouldn't. He's a
You
good.
know,
He was a,
all of us here know the star players at least of all the Premier League clubs, right?
Yeah.
Not being funny. You should know
How
most
can you-
players from every
Yeah,
club.
yeah,
Like,
well,
we're
yeah. I mean,
football
I'm
fans.
not
Like,
gonna
do you
know.
what I mean?
I'm not gonna know like all 23 players of.
Yeah,
of-
yeah,
of
of course.
the-
of
yeah,
course.
but the main players of all the squad.
Yeah.
Because we all watch the football. And by the way,
That's
how
it.
many Porto games you watch in a season, Sonny?
I watched
if you-
highlights. I watched
check this out.
highlights.
Okay, if you can right now, off the top of your head, name me Porto's last three teams they played, I'll give you £1,000 live
Whoa,
on the air.
what are you talking about?
If
I
you
see we
watch
were linked.
Porto, you must know their last 3 games they played. Last 3 games they
No.
played, £1,000 in your back
I never
pocket.
said.
right
I
now.
never said I watched Porto.
But
Wait,
you
£1,000.
know Luis Diaz more than you know Trossard.
Yes, because I didn't know Trossard.
Stop it. You're being disingenuous.
You're
Stop
done out
it.
here. You're done out
Stop
here.
it.
It's a disingenuous conversation. You can say you don't think we're gonna win it, but like you go too far to the point where you're like, be for real. Like
I'm
No,
glad.
look, no.
Sonny, in
My
fairness,
last point.
Sonny,
I
Go
could
on.
open up my live football score app. Notifications come through. I have it all from Germany, all from Spain, all from Portugal. So when I get notifications and I see Luis Diaz goal, Luis Diaz goal, Luis Diaz goal, I know who the guy is.
But you
Why
don't,
you
I'm sure
don't
you
know
got the
Trossard?
You didn't watch him
notifications.
then.
I'm sure
No,
you
I
got
watched
the
him- I watched him when
notifications
I
when it
went, hang
went
on, he scored a lot of
Trossard at
goals.
Anfield. Trossard at Anfield. Trossard at Anfield. I'm
this
sure you got those
season, this
messages.
season, this season.
listen,
But you guys
Sonny,
are still good this season. You're gonna make top 4, right?
No one said that. No one's talking about Liverpool right now.
You're gonna beat Bournemouth. You're gonna beat everybody else. You're gonna beat Arsenal and Chelsea, right? So this season
Are
you
those
guys are
games
fine.
played yet? I don't
3
think
easy
they've
games
played
coming up.
Arsenal and City,
You
yeah.
better win them games.
You know what,
No one
though?
said easy
I am
games.
going to
No
say
one said
this
easy games.
just very quickly. I'm glad that Sonny is now 18 because the way he just got cooked, if he wasn't, Childline would be getting called 110%. I'm
About
so glad.
cooked.
I'm
I
so
don't feel
glad.
cooked.
Mate, you should, bruv.
I feel raw.
Pause.
Like, pause.
Let's
Pause.
leave it there.
I
Leave it
don't
there.
take it like
Let's
that.
leave it there.
Pause.
Leave it there,
Say too
bruv.
much, man.
Leave it there.
Let's say way too much.
Everyone talking about us bottling top 4 last year obviously doesn't pay attention to squad changes. Looking at the squad against Spurs last year versus now is why we are top. New players, new mentality is what Peter Baker says. My brother here, Laddie, long time no see, Laddie. Hope you're well. Says Arsenal can win it, but will they win it is the question. It will be a bigger disaster not to win it. This is Leicester-like again. If Arsenal don't win it, we'll not smell it for another decade. I want to ask.
I'm so fed up with that.
I want to pose this one to Spurs fan Savva. Do you think that's a fair bit of analysis there from Laddie? I want to practice a rifle.
Listen, look, where I am with the whole Arsenal Man City thing. I've said I think Man City will win the league. I've also said it all boils down to that game at the Etihad. Yeah, I think if Man City turn up and convincingly beat Arsenal, I think that can have a really bad effect. However, I am man enough to admit it, that Arsenal keep not stumbling, if that makes sense. They keep going. Everyone keeps waiting for this downfall. They had a 3-game blip, and I think everyone in the world went, there you go, they're done. And they've bounced back magnificently. They're currently playing the best football in the country, and that hurts. That really hurts to say that. And if they win it, like I said last week, Terry, fair play to them. If they win it, they've deserved it. City have got previous. City have got a better squad. But sometimes it's not about the better squad. Sometimes it's about form. It's about belief. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think Man City will nick it if they beat Arsenal in that game. I think that's a huge game. Whoever wins that game for me wins the league. There you go. I can't be clearer than that. But
wait, why do you think Man City will win it? Can I just ask that? Because I think it's crazy. It just kind of backs my point, the fact that it seems to be 5 points clear, but we think second place are going to win.
So because like I just suggested, if Man City had, if Arsenal had a 5-point gap, but didn't have to go to that very team that's chasing them, I think this would all be done. That's the game for me. Okay. If City beat Arsenal, it's, again, this is mentality, psychological. That will be huge. If Arsenal get a point or win that game, done. Equally, if Liverpool beat Man City this weekend, and I don't know who Arsenal have got, then that could be all over, right? So it's fine lines. But this person's comment, if Arsenal don't win it, they will not smell it for another decade. Look, I mean, it's so hard to tell, isn't it? Because there's so many teams that are going to be spending money. Newcastle are going to spend money. Man City are going to spend more money. Chelsea will spend more money. Liverpool, I fail to believe Liverpool won't go out and buy midfielders they need in the summer. So will they get another sniff? They'll be up there. They'll be there. But it's all about what Arsenal do in the summer. What's their recruitment? Do they go and buy a Declan Rice? Do they go and buy these types of players that will look solid?
Yeah.
Listen, they'll play if they win it.
That was like probably the best response I've ever heard. The difference between like Sonny's and Savva's was like, he didn't just disregard us. Like, you know what I mean? He didn't necessarily say everything was going in our basket, but at least he had some backing up.
Can I clarify? When I say Arsenal can't win the league, I don't mean there's 0% Arsenal cannot win the league. I mean, in my opinion, it's probably about a 90-10.
Just a little update for you, Sonny. Leandro Trossard has scored against you every single season in the Premier League since he's been here since 2019.
You're one of his favorite opponents.
He scored against you in the 2019 season. He scored against you in the 2021, 2022, and a hat-trick this year. He scored against you every year for 4 years.
You can't count this year, so that's 2 seasons. We played Redgar.
No, that's 3 seasons then. That's 3 then. That's 3.
Oh, wait, what?
Because it's 4 years, 4 seasons, including this one. So 3 if you minus this year.
Okay, just to let you know, Sonny, Porto are playing tomorrow night at 8 o'clock against Milan.
Okay. I still think it's an irrelevant point because Red Star Belgrade beat us like 2-0, whatever it was, a few years ago. Am I meant to know who scored in that game? Like, it's just
okay. Fair enough. Sonny is going to wet the bed tonight, according to Anthony here. He may do. This here says comparing Arsenal to Leicester shows the born knowledge. We talk about evidence a lot. Or what's there to show that everyone will compete next year, but Arsenal won't. And that's always been my feeling on this, saying that everyone said Arsenal wouldn't compete for top 4 this year because they missed out, and they have. Arsenal are also not Leicester. Savva's right in terms of retaining a title is harder than winning a title because you've got to do it back to back. And then the Europa League, everyone gets to get out with this when you're competing for a title. There's almost you can probably deprioritize it, and fans will accept it to a degree. Champions League, you can't be going into a knockout game and taking out 5 of your best players for the first leg. You can't do that next year. So investment is key. But to say that Arsenal were just going to fall away, I do think is wrong.
Terry, one of 2 things will happen, Terry, for me, with Arsenal. One of 2 things will happen. We've seen this with multiple teams. If Arsenal lose this league title, it will be by a point, 2 points max, right? If they lose, it's then about how hungry does that make those players? Do they then go, right, this makes us even more hungry to kick on? Or does that take the wind out their sails and people want to come and buy Martinelli, Saka, etc.?
Yeah.
We don't know. No one could have predicted this year that Chelsea and Liverpool would have just been so bad. nobody would have been able to predict that Newcastle would be in the top 4, right? So I think just keep a...
But the only part about that I a little bit disagree with is the fact that like we weren't even supposed to be winning the league this season. So we're ahead of schedule, and we have Saka, Martinelli, Saliba all signing long-term deals, which from my perspective says they're here for the long haul. So if bottling top 4 got them to push now to being like in a title race, if they miss out now, like I still think that's going to push them even further.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know?
That, if they do, they do, and fair enough.
I get that.
You've got a very good young team.
We're going to go through some more of these super chats here. Peter says, everyone talking about us bottling top 4 last year. Obviously, sorry, I've already done that one there. Sorry, my friend, I didn't unstar it. 1 second. I've already done that one as well. I need to done the same ones twice here. Trossard bagged a hat trick at Anfield, a bagged that hat trick last season as well, is what Zizzy says here. Gunasol says, Klopp era has been one of the biggest flukes in football. You guys only became good after you sold Coutinho to Corruption FC. A little bit of salt there from Gunasol. This here says, all how Arsenal was the best. Is that good enough to fill their insecurities? It would be a massive L choke if Arsenal don't win the Premier League. No 3-peat is what Nabil has got to say here. Arsenal need at least one chance to prove they can win the Premier League. I get you. Sonny Trossard scored against you last season, is what Twinny says here as well. So a few people calling you out on that one, Twin.
Did he? No one mentioned that.
In fairness, these super chats came in before I said it, to be fair. I just didn't see them all. Sonny, like a pensioner celebrating morning glory, then realizing he's got nobody to celebrate with.
What the hell is going on?
Wow.
What an analogy. What an analogy.
Great
plenty of correlation.
It's great, Vindaloo, but Sonny is still definitely a. But
whoa, I'm not.
I can banter you about that now because you're an adult. Terry, Arsenal can't compete next season because all our players are retiring at the end of the season. It's our last chance. Come on, you gooners. Yeah, I hear you. That analysis is crazy when people do it. This year says, this Paul fan says I can't pull my finger on it every week and then goes on to defend Klopp with chest. Shameful act is what Mateus says here. This here says, is it them rat teeth Colleen is guaning at your neck? We're talking about Gary Neville nibbling on your neck. I think is what Obi-Wan's talking about there.
Listen, I'm not
ignoring
I'm not going to be justifying my tastes anymore to anyone. I think Gary Neville's an attractive older man, and I'm sticking by it. I'm sticking by my man. This
here says, Terry, you're killing me. Now I have in my head Unai Emery whispering in her ear. Would you believe?
See what you start. You see what you start.
And Gary Neville like nibbling with his rat teeth on her toes. Yeah, LJ, put that right in your head now, bro. That's why I did it.
Colleen, would you like Unai Emery to take you out for a warm salad?
Do you know what? I'm done. Cut all the mics.
Just for context, Colleen eats warm salad. She likes salad warm. Very weird.
Oh, that's true.
Very weird young lady. Didn't Man City win the league against QPR like in the last minute game? Yes, they did. Sonny is why Zoomers are seen as a joke. He's lost, is what Silver Runin says. Arsenal have now matched City's highest points total after 27 games in their last 5 seasons at 66 points. The idea that they weren't that good is that they're not that good is crazy. It's absolutely true.
What a trophy.
Terry, well, no, they're not. They're not claiming a trophy, Sonny. They're simply.
Where you were waving around 7-0 and 9. I will be quiet.
I'll leave it there.
I never said that was a trophy.
I'll leave it there. I'll leave it
like
there. Terry, you fraud. Paulinho was missing. Lucky Arsenal.
We did
what he said there. Yeah, it's just one player though. Must mean Arteta is the best manager in the league, is what Salim says. I'm not too sure what that's in referral to, though, Salim. But thank you.
Well, if we have a bunch of paupers and, players that nobody knows who they are and they're just young kids and they're not good enough to win the league. If Arteta has us that far up, he is the best manager in the league. So you can't have it both ways.
exactly.
Be a cone man and have terrible players be top of the league.
This is when I call out banter from young football fans. It's like, this is why it's dead, because the first joke you make is ruined by the second joke you make. It's like, bide your time with it. Make one joke and narrative and stick with it. It's funnier. Like, jokes one after the other is boring. It doesn't work. And you sound the banter police. No, I'm basically doing what your dad should have done. I'm schooling you, man. Come on now. Sonny, the longer you take drugs, your opinion, ain't it?
No dead banter.
I'm a United fan, and as much as I don't want Arsenal to win, they've passed every test this season and clearly have a new mentality. People are judging City on what they've done in the past versus what they're doing now. And we haven't even mentioned City really on this show, and we should do, because again, I thought they were so average against Crystal Palace. They deserve to win the game. I'm not taking anything away from them. It was a Champions-like win because they won when not playing well. But when I look at their performances this year, I do not believe they win 11 on the bounce. I don't believe they win the next 11 games. I can't see a world where that's... And everyone spoke about they'll win the league because they'll go on a 10-game winning streak. Well, I just don't see that happening, personally. But thank you, Vol, the producer. Liverpool fans don't want us to win because it makes taking 30 years to win the Premier League even more embarrassing. That's also a great point because it's 20. Yeah, they want you to hit that 30 mark like they did. It's a great point. Arsenal need at least one chance. Oh, sorry, I would have done that one there. My apologies. If he doesn't know who Trossard is, what qualifies him to be on the show? Got to have some kind of football knowledge. Yeah, KJ, you've got to devise a quiz. You've got to devise a quiz now before we have people on. I think that's right. Sonny is like the guy seeing his ex with a new man and can't take it. We've replaced you, mate. Just accept it. We're winning the league. Come on, you gooners.
Keep the energy. Just keep the energy.
Is there a place on the panel? Sonny moving mad is what Joshua Maynard says. They're looking for your spot, Sonny. They want to be you.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They want to be me. Well, there we go. There we go.
Bless you. You're taking it well, to be fair. What a difference a week makes. The abuse I was getting last week. Please, can we know Sonny and Co.'s opinion on Arteta? Yeah, what is your opinion on Arteta?
He's a good manager, but he's never this is his first managerial job, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, experience. He's a good manager. I think he will be a great manager, but for now he's just a good manager.
I just hate seeing happy Arsenal fans is what Todd Miller says. Yeah, I think everyone agrees with that. Terry, the adoption curve in football is real. It goes in cycles, rise and fall of empires. As a Man United fan, I'd rather see Arsenal win than City break our record.
That's a really good point.
It's bang on. Listen, the adoption curve or the denial curve, they're very, very similar. I did a show on Arsenal and the denial curve much earlier on in the season. If you go back and watch it now with hindsight, you'll see, oh my God, I was like rolling I weren't a genius. It's an old fashioned, I didn't invent the denial curve. But it was just so clear to see. You're absolutely right, Mick, my old mate. Guy on the bottom left preying on Arsenal's downfall. We are going to humble you at Anfield. We're coming with our best lineup, and it's over. Is what
don't jinx us, man. Don't jinx us. I don't need somebody getting a little groin injury or something like that.
Imagine. People really out here thinking there's an agenda to actually analyze, keep Sonny around, great entertainment.
Listen, is that a positive comment? What?
Yes. Yeah, listen, Sonny. Listen, I do get every week. People tell me not to have Sonny back on. I always don't get Igal back on. I've had people tell me to sack myself on the terrace. I won't do that. I just sometimes want a little bit of normal analysis in with it as well, because if it's too comedic, you lose a bit of it. We don't want Keith Lemon on the show. Arteta just won the London Football Award Manager of the Year, according to Sky. Up the gaffer is what Adam Lowe says. If Arsenal lose the title, can Arteta be condemned?
No.
It depends. I feel like if we beat Crystal Palace and we go 8 points clear, I think at that point we really need to see some big performances away from home at Anfield and at the Etihad. We can't crumble. I would be really disappointed if we crumbled again, but I think he's not going to be sacked. So get that out of your head if you think we're going to be calling for him to get sacked or anything like that. But it depends on how things go.
I think condemns
it
the
really
wrong word.
does. But Savva's really, I think Savva's like made the perfect, like, it's really what's going to happen at the Etihad. I think from there on, we'll see like what it's going to be like, but it's going to be hard to condemn somebody that's got us into a position to, you know, fight for titles when we weren't even supposed to be there. You know,
Yeah,
it's hard.
I think with football fans, we've got to move into this world, and you've seen United. Listen, we've won one little trophy, little in the context of the 4 that we could possibly win, you know, each year. And United fans don't win 2 league games on the bounce, and the outrage merchants are back. There comes a point where we've got to go. Listen, Fergie had a lot of credit in the bank, and I understand it, and so did Wenger. But I think football fans have got to get into this mold of not every manager can win the league every year. So if Arteta proves himself world class over the next 2 years, and Pep stays, and Klopp stays, and Ten Hag proves himself world class, and Luis Enrique joins Tottenham, who's already proven as world class, and Graham Potter gets Chelsea to another level, and everyone thinks Potter's really brilliant. If not winning the league means you get condemned and maybe sacked, it means every year you're sacking 4 of those 5 of those 6. It's crazy. Like, you have to give, like, just not winning the league shouldn't just be the barometer of being condemned and fired. Criticize maybe if he makes mistakes, but I think a bit more patience is definitely needed at times. Hey, panel, have you heard The Tears of a Clown? Great song from Smokey Robertson about
Great
Sonny's
song.
take on Arsenal. You should give it a listen. Yeah, man. Sonny Robinson is a G, so go listen to that. Smokey Robertson, sorry, not Sonny Robinson. Go listen to Smokey. Very good. Would you guys prefer to go out on Thursday to focus? Would you want to go out, Colleen, on Thursday so you can focus solely on the league?
Absolutely not. I think that sends the absolute wrong message. I never want my team personally to ever go out of a cup. I don't care whether we have like the depth or not, if there's someone's opinion. If I could be fighting on all 4 fronts, I 100% will be. I hear what people are saying though around, you know, it might be better to keep the guys fresh and less games and blah, 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 but nothing's guaranteed. As much as I believe Arsenal will win the league, and I've been saying that, nothing is guaranteed, and you just don't throw away a European Cup competition as well, considering Arsenal's history with Europe. Absolutely not. You play to win. You play to win each game. You don't let anything knock you or your momentum. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Arteta has just won Manager of the Year from the LFA. Is that the London Football Association?
Yeah, the same one you saw before. Yeah,
same thing. I also read somewhere earlier that Christian Eriksen, probably because he was at Brentford, just won like Comeback of the Year or something like that.
Okay.
I assume that's to do with his chest and stuff. So yeah, congratulations to both of them. Man City are bang on their points average for the last 5 years after 27 games, according to, I don't know what Sky Sports, that must mean.
Sports.
This narrative they are underperforming is nonsense. I don't think they look as good on the pitch. The points are there, but they're not quite, and that's why, again, I think it's the points totals and wins is one thing. The performance on the pitch is another. You assess them both and you make a judgment call, I think. Arsenal won 3 consecutive titles in the 30s. No three-peat for City is what Headbangers says. Peter also, well, you can't undo the history. Otherwise, if we undo, how far do we go back, Sonny? Because if you,
I'm not taking.
I say let's
Let's
do it from 1992. Let's do it from then, yeah.
I'm not taking the piss. I'm just saying it surprised me when I see 1930 on my screen.
Liverpool seemed so down this weekend. I thought popping your cherry was a big milestone, but I must have gotten it wrong. Boy, that's a very good super chat, Peter. You win the competition today. And this says we play before City after he breaks, so we could even be 11 points clear. That's true. They win that game there. You actually, you're right, Peter. You play.
That's where the psychology comes in.
Yeah, and go 11 points clear, and the pressure really starts to matter. And if they drop points, even though they've got those games in hand.
Come on, Liverpool. Come on, Liverpool.
Can you imagine Liverpool do it? Sonny be out here. Sonny, you remember that? I know we don't talk about him much anymore, but you remember that meme of DT celebrating, then he stops. You've all seen it, right? Where DT celebrating. That would be Sonny if like Liverpool beat City, and then he realizes, oh no, we've just helped Arsenal undo my long-term opinion. That would be Sonny. That would be Sonny.
I'd rather Arsenal win. I want Arsenal to win the league, so it's not an agenda.
Really?
Yeah,
clearly. Chelsea to stop Arsenal like they did Spurs is what Kingsley.
Arsenal wasn't Spurs though, unfortunately.
When did Chelsea play Arsenal?
In a few weeks' time.
Towards the end, at home.
Come on, Chelsea. I'm fully supporting you lot then.
Shameless.
If Arsenal draw Bayern or Real Madrid or PSG next season, can they compete with them toe for toe?
I mean, I don't know how anyone else feels, but I feel like if you earn the right to be in the Champions League, you should be able to compete. I think the days are gone of like when Arsenal used to get into the Champions League just scraping through in fourth position and then getting knocked out in the round of 16. Me personally, if we recruit well in the summer, and judging by how we've been playing, top out of what must be in the top 3 in all clubs in Europe, why can we not compete with them? I don't see why not.
I think next season the goal, like I know people are going to go way overboard and start saying like we need to be, winning and really getting to the end, get to the knockout rounds, and then see where you go from there. None of these boys have played in the Champions League before. It's going to be difficult for them. It's a team that like look at how we are in the Europa League. I think take it step by step, qualify for it again, try to get into the knockout rounds. Because what I'm looking at, I think teams like you look at Spurs. I mean, no offense to Spurs, but like I even think like I watched you guys play and I was like, ooh, this is much harder than it looks. They're a Premier League team, but you're not really going through like super easy. Even Chelsea like went away from home to Dortmund, probably should have won, but didn't. Like Arsenal are going to have to learn how to be in the Champions League. We haven't been in there for a while.
Yeah,
I think it could be tough.
On the basis of what he's asking, the only team I would say probably not is Real Madrid, just because Real Madrid are just on Champions League nights, they just turn into a different animal. But I don't see why you couldn't beat PSG or Bayern over 2 legs or 2 ties.
I would say PSG, but even Bayern, they have so much experience. Like even when they're not great, look at the players that they've been in the Champions League for so long. I think experience in the Champions League goes a long way.
I think you can lose but still compete. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a way of losing. Do you know what I mean?
I think the Savva alluded to earlier, along with Jess, it's all about the, what happens in the summer. You sign Victor, I mean, players you're linked to. You sign Usherman and Declan Rice, to name 2, plus a couple more. That depth suddenly becomes something different. The confidence, the young players getting that year older, that year more experience, that becoming better because of it, that feeling of that cementing themselves after winning a title. Why not? I mean, this year you've been the best footballing team in the Premier League, and City could go and beat those teams. So why not? It'll come down to mentality and how they feel being in those circumstances, as opposed to their footballing ability. But definitely a chance. Would Liverpool / Tottenham take Arteta next season as a new manager?
What a wild question. He's not leaving Arsenal, so there's no point asking this, is there? He's not coming to.
But would you take Arteta? Would you take Arteta?
What, right now? Arteta right now?
Well, as opposed to...
If he's available. Okay, I don't really understand the question.
Arsenal go bankrupt. And so he loses his job by default, not because they sacked him or because anything else, and he's available. You've got no manager in. Would you take Arteta?
Yeah, 100%. Come on, if you look at his progression and how good he's become. I mean, and I know last year you saw the signs, but he fell off a bit and everyone banded him. But man, he's a top manager. He is a top manager. Regardless, even if Arsenal don't win the league, you can clearly see he's made the team a lot better, a lot more competitive. He's improving the players. The football is looking better. The tactics, how they are in and out of, in offense when they lose the ball, how quickly they get it back defensively. He's a good manager. Like, there's no shame in saying that. So, of course, I take him. Like, who wouldn't?
Savva?
Absolutely not. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't. Look, there's
George Graham. Come on.
There's some things, yeah. But look, listen. I was going in and around the George Graham era, and it's not nice. It divides the fans completely, and you've got to have a manager that comes in that doesn't divide the fans. We've had it with Chet with Jose, divided the fans. Arteta would. Listen, that's not a slight on him. That's a slight on our 2 clubs' rivalry. It's not about him. It's like the whole Sol Campbell thing. But you don't.
I mean, I don't know about you, Jess, but we pretty much. I think we were all unified on our end around.
That worked out for us.
Yeah, we were all good.
I agree with you, Sav. To a degree. Like, for me, it's like as great as they are, I wouldn't want Pep or Klopp at Man United because they manage my rivals. You know, it's
100%.
I wouldn't want that just because it feel wrong to me. You know, me and
Terry,
my
I
brother.
wouldn't mind if he had just gone there for like a year and had no affiliation with the club before. Cool, but this is a bloke that played many, many years at Arsenal.
Former Arsenal captain.
Yeah.
Now
If he
he's
wins
managed
league
them,
titles with him,
you
he
know.
becomes a legend. You know, in some regard there, or he's on his way to being, and everything else. You know, me and my brothers always had a rule like you never like go near the same girl, and I believe that in football, like you don't go near a rival's manager or even best players to a certain degree. Like Michael Owen felt different at United because there was a lot of space in between, if that makes sense.
I think that's it. I think
So,
that's
even
it.
even then, there was a lot of challenge on it. There was a lot of like, I don't know if we really want him and whatever else. But sorry, what are you saying, Cole?
No, I was going to say the chat's pointing out a very fair point. I don't think you guys can be too picky because actually the last time you took one of our managers, he won you a trophy, which are very slim pickings on your end of the
as I said,
London. So
it's not about him as a manager. He's doing really, really well. He's doing very well. I do think though as well, like with anything, as I said, let's see this year after year. I think what Terry said just then, football opinions, like everything's immediacy. Arteta will be judged, win the league or finish second, whatever he does this year. But then next year, it's important that he's there or thereabouts again. Because if I'm not saying you will, I'm just talking hypotheticals. If Arteta next year finished sixth, everyone then goes, one season wonder. So for me, it's the same with players, the same with managers. It's consistency is everything. Consistency.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just for me, there's code. You know, me and my brothers have code. Me and my friends have code. Men should have code amongst each other that's unwritten. Some men don't follow that, and that's why people get slap up. But there should be a code amongst clubs. There's certain players and there's certain managers that you just don't touch. They are out of bounds, unwritten rules. And I saw some guy said, Terry, man said he wouldn't have Pep. Not because he isn't brilliant, but because he's City. And, you know, fair enough. So Matt Busby was a Liverpool player. But again, you've got to do your history. Man United and Liverpool didn't have a rivalry in the 40s and 50s. Not even in the 60s. Man United and Liverpool's rivalry only started when a lot of the dock work from Liverpool was moved to Manchester and the cities became rivals. Up until that point, there wasn't a history between the clubs. There was no animosity between the clubs. It was cities that did it. So if Man United and Liverpool had that rivalry in the 40s and 50s that we have now, so Matt Busby wouldn't have made the move across. And it was a little different back in those days because managers weren't like footballers and managers weren't earning the money they made now. Now there's like, if you're a millionaire, there's no reason to join a massive rival. Back then it was like most people stopped playing football or managing. They went straight into a working class job in a mine or on a dock. So it's a little different. You can excuse it, but it very rarely happens. There should be code. This super chat says, if Arteta wins,
Sorry, I need to jump. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We're
going
to end now. I'm having a second hair transplant. Listen, we are ending the show now as well. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that's joined us today. 2 hours and 10 minutes. Jesus Christ. Thank you very much indeed. Go and follow us on Spotify before the end of the stream. Click on the link in the description below or in the live comment section. Go and follow us on Spotify or on Apple Podcast. It's all available there. But Colleen, Jess, Patty, of course, Savva and Sonny are about to leave us. Thank you all very, very much indeed. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Thank you. You're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below.